Chapter 960. The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are read for free. Novels with content that cannot be found online are all available here. Ever since Xiao Hang took over the cabinet, he had always done things in a high-profile manner and kept a low profile. He saved as much as he could and never put on airs. But today, for the first time, the Grand Secretary was going to call them one by one into his room for a talk. The 2 secondary assistants, 3 cabinet scholars, and a number of Hall of Governmental Affairs officials all looked at each other as they gathered outside the Grand Secretary's intermediate hall. They didn't understand what was going on today. Did we do something recently that has been used against us? Lu Sifu asked. He had originally been Grand Teacher Zhuang's trusted aide. After Grand Teacher Zhuang was defeated, he abandoned the dark for the light and expressed his sincerity to the emperor. The other secondary assistant surnamed Zhang was removed from his position and investigated because the circumstances were serious. The person who replaced him was surnamed Wu and was selected from the cabinet scholars. Wu Sifu pondered and said, "We haven't done anything recently. Did the Grand Secretary discover that I promoted my own relative? When the water was too clear, there would be no fish. No dynasty could guarantee that the officials under them were absolutely clean. At most, these people had some petty thoughts and couldn't be considered vermin of the country." Xiao Heng usually opened one eye and turned a blind eye. As long as it wasn't too excessive, he basically didn't interfere. Since the 2 cabinet elders don't understand the situation, then the person speaking was the scholar of Wuying Palace, surnamed Kong. There were a total of 6 Grand Secretaries in the cabinet. Only the Grand Secretary and the 2 Vice Secretaries were qualified to be called Cabinet Elder. The other 3 Grand Secretaries from Wuying Palace, Wanyuan Pavilion and East Pavilion could only be called Junior Cabinet Elder. Yes. The scholars of the Imperial Library and the East Pavilion sighed and nodded. Lu Sifu said, "Don't worry, the Grand Secretary is not a temperamental person. Presumably, he called us here today to ask about the recent official business." Wu Sifu hurriedly said, That's right. Ever since the Prime Minister's family took office, they have never really been angry with us. Even if something went wrong in our daily life, they would only lightly remind us. Today, maybe something good will happen. That would be best, Scholar Kong said. Not long after, the Assistant Secretary came out and called Lu Sifu in. Lu Sifu said that he wasn't worried, but when he was really called, his face turned pale. For some reason, he felt that today's posture was too formal. Did something really happen? Was the Grand Secretary going to nurture his own people, have them privately hand over their allegiance to him? If he didn't submit to the Grand Secretary, would he be secretly and mercilessly eradicated by the Grand Secretary? He braced himself and entered the Grand Secretary's study. Xiao Hang was sitting in the chair behind the desk. He was the youngest Grand Secretary in the history of the Zhao nation. He was the embodiment of what it meant to be young and accomplished. At the age of 13, he became the Chancellor of the Imperial College. Later, he was assassinated and left to live among the commoners. However, at the age of 18, he returned to the capital as a top scorer. At the age of 19, he became the Grand Secretary of the Imperial College. This was the legend of the Zhao country and would definitely be recorded in the history books. This lowly official greets my lord. Lu Sifu did not dare to be disrespectful just because the other party was young. Lu Sifu was stunned when he heard a childish voice beside Xiao Hang. His nose was not very good and did not smell the milky fragrance in the room. However, he was not deaf. He gathered his courage and looked beside the Grand Secretary. Oh my God! 2 babies! Xiao Tsong and Xiao Yan were lying side by side in a cradle by the table. The weather was not so cold, and they were no longer wrapped in swaddling clothes. Xiao Tsong was a quiet and handsome young man as usual. Xiao Yan was eating her hands. The childish voice just now was from her. Are they my lord's little daughter and son?" he asked in a daze. Xiao Hang responded indifferently. His expression was very proud. Lu Sifu was stunned. What was going on? You came on duty and brought the babies with you? So why did you ask me to come to your study? Xiao Hang glanced at the secretary beside him. The secretary understood and walked forward with 2 red eggs. He said to Lu Sifu amiably, "Milord, these are the red eggs for you." Lu Sifu. He had seen people giving out eggs 2 days after giving birth, but had he seen people still giving out red eggs 2 months after giving birth? Xiao Hang said without changing his expression, "It's mainly because I forgot to give them last time. This time, I will make it up to you." Lu Sifu, after all this time, you just want to give out red eggs? You should have said so earlier. Look at how scared everyone is. Are they cute? Xiao Hing asked seriously. Cute, cute. Lu Sifu was about to doubt his life. It was not enough for your father to show off his daughter, and now you want to show off your twins? What is wrong with your family? The second person to be called in was Wu Sifu. He also liked to give out 2 red eggs and praise the twins with a basket of auspicious words. He could not be the same as Lu Sifu's. The Grand Secretaries of the Imperial Cabinet were subjected to the first literary examination of the year, praising the twins in fancy ways. Gu Chongqing's marriage came to an end. Gu Jiao planned to set off for Dark Knight Island. Xiao Hang would go with her, and Duke Onghua would also return to the Yen Kingdom. Their plan was to stay in Chengdu for a while. Gu Jiao and Xiao Hang only needed to cross the ice fields before the extreme weather in October. The only problem in front of them now was that the 2 children were too young. Could they adapt to such an intense journey? Princess Residence. The whole family sat in Princess Xinyong's room. Princess Xinyong said, "It rains a lot in April, so it's not suitable to travel by water. You can only travel by land. It's too bumpy to take a carriage. Yen'er and Sung are only 2 months old." Gu Jiao was silent. This was indeed a very realistic problem. It was too hard for 2-month-old children to take a carriage. Especially in the Yen Kingdom, the weather was hot. May was like midsummer. Being cooped up in a carriage all day was as scary as being placed in a steamer. Xiao Ji had always been very good at raising children. This time, he agreed with Qin Fengwan's worries. It was too torturous to let such young twins travel. Princess Xinyong looked at Gu Jiao and Xiao Hang and said, "You can either wait until the children are older and go next year. Or you can leave the children here. I'll take good care of them." Her godfather's bones were still buried on Dark Knight Island. Gu Jiao had already waited for a year. She couldn't let herself wait for a second year. Besides, even if the twins were a year older, they were still not suitable for a long journey. Gu Jiao looked at Xiao Heng. Xiao Heng said softly, "You decide." Gu Jiao said, "Then let's leave the children in the capital." Xiao Heng held her hand. "You won't miss them?" Gu Jiao thought for a moment. "I'm fine. What about you?" Xiao Heng stroked her hair and said calmly, "Of course I'm fine." Once they returned to Lanting Courtyard, Xiao Hang went into his room and locked the door. He hugged the twins and didn't let go, his eyes red. They had prepared everything for the trip several months ago, so they could set off at any time. The 2 first entered the palace to bid farewell to their grandaunt. It was true that their grandaunt hoped to keep them by her side forever, but the children had grown up. They had to go out to explore and complete their own life's mission. What she needed to do was to guard their home and wait for their return each time. After leaving the imperial palace, the young couple went to Jade Water Alley and Marquis Ding, Anne's manor to bid farewell. By the time they returned to the princess residence, it was already dark. However, it was on this night that something unexpected happened. The twins had disappeared. "Whoa, it's all my fault. I didn't keep an eye on the young master and young miss." Yuya was sobbing at the door, gasping for breath. Gu Jiao didn't blame her. Instead, she calmly asked, "Don't cry first. What happened? Tell me in detail." Yuya narrated everything that had happened tonight in full detail. The twins stayed at Princess Xian Yang's place for an entire day. She only brought them back when night fell. The twins were very energetic and didn't have any intention of sleeping. She placed them together on Xiao Hang and Gu Jiao's bed, wanting them to play for a while. She was in her room making knots. The kitchen staff came over and asked her if she wanted to prepare a midnight snack for the young Marquis and young Madam. She went out and told that person about a few snacks that the two liked to eat. At that time I was standing at the door. Here. Yuya pointed at the place where she had spoken with the kitchen staff and cried, "I didn't expect that in such a short time." When I entered the room again, Yen and Song were gone. Was Long Yi in the residence at that time? Xiao Hing asked. Yuya wiped her tears and pointed forward. He was in the courtyard sharpening charcoal. After Yen and Song disappeared, he went out to look for them. Someone had sneaked into the residence and stolen the twins. This was the first reaction of the two. But judging from the place Yen was pointing at, Long Yi was facing the door at that time. No assassin could sneak into the courtyard under Long Yi's nose, let alone steal the twins. Xiao Hang entered the room and carefully inspected it. He concluded, there was no fourth person who came in. The three people were Yuya, and the twins. Gu Jiao frowned. Since no one came, how did Yen and Song disappear? Xiao Heng's gaze fell on the bedside table. I remember that when you went out this morning, you left the small medicine box here. Gu Jiao nodded. Yes, The small medicine box is also gone. Known. It was impossible to steal the small medicine box. So, it was the small medicine box that stole the twins. Gu Jiao exploded on the spot. She clenched her small fists and her face darkened on the spot. State Preceptor Hall. A young man wearing a white crescent state preceptor robe stepped into the Qilin Hall. The disciples on duty in the hall saluted him. State Preceptor. Yi Qing nodded. He was wearing a mourning ring on his arm, but no one knew who it was for. He walked through the long aisle on the right side of the Qilin Hall and came to the front of the secret room at the end. He said to the two men guarding the secret room, I'll go in and clean up. You open the door. Yes. State Preceptor. The two men obeyed the instructions of the newly appointed young State Preceptor and took out the key to open the secret room. Yi Qing stepped into the place that his master had told him to guard for the rest of his life. However, as soon as he lit up the oil lamp, he saw that the place that was supposed to be empty was actually filled with two adorable little babies. Ah! He was shocked, his legs went soft, and he fell to the ground. The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. The novels that can't be found online are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1044642223. HTML Genius, remember the address of this site in a second. www.zhbqg.com Pen Fun Pavilion Mobile Version Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 961. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all here. After Shangguan Yen ascended the throne, she changed the name of the emperor's bedroom to Feng Lin Palace. The peak of April was the mildest time of the year, neither hot nor cold, neither dry nor humid. Shangguan Yen was sitting in the study room of Feng Lin Palace, reviewing memorials. On her desk, there were two picture frames that Gu Jiao asked the Shadow Division to bring from Zhao country. Inside, there were portraits of twins. Every time she was mentally and physically exhausted by the matters of the imperial court, she only needed to look at the portraits of the twins to feel all of her fatigue vanish into thin air. She looked at the twins, and her eyes flashed with a touch of doting and longing. She was born for so long, but she still hasn't seen the two little guys. She heard that Zhao Jiao and A Hang were coming to Yen country, but the twins were still small and couldn't stand the long distance. They should stay in Zhao country. It was really regrettable that she couldn't see them when they were young. Shangguan Yen sighed. Suddenly, Wu Cixi walked in with small steps and bowed. "Your Majesty." Shangguan Yen looked at his expression and knew that someone else came. She helplessly said, "Who is it this time?" The beauties in the harem were really restless. Every night, they would make all kinds of chance encounters, or they would recommend themselves to the bed. When she was the Empress Dowager, she thought that only women were difficult to deal with. When she became the emperor, she found that men were enchanting and there was basically nothing for women to do. There were a few little demons who looked very attractive. Wu Cixi smiled and said, "It's State Preceptor." Shangguan Yan's pen movement paused. "Yi Qing." A quarter of an hour later, Yi Qing came to Shangguan Yan's study with a baby in his left hand and a baby in his right hand. Those who knew said that he had something to do, but those who didn't know thought that he brought the baby to the door and called Shangguan Yen to be responsible for him and the baby. Everyone in Feng Lin Palace was dumbfounded. No wonder Her Majesty was indifferent to all kinds of handsome men in the harem. It turned out that State Preceptor Yi, this coquettish bitch, got there first. "Yi Qing, what are you doing?" Shangguan Yen expressed that she was also very confused. In the middle of the night, a man came looking for her with a child, and even showed an indescribable expression. No matter how she thought about it, it was so scary. "I won't really do anything to you, right? You gave birth to the child? You went to the Dark Night Island and didn't come back for so long. Were you hiding for 10 months to give birth alone?" Shangguan Yan's mind flashed with an absurd conjecture and she couldn't help but be shocked. She shook her head like a rattle drum, waiting for Yi Qing to give her a reasonable explanation. Yi Qing gently put the child on the table, took out the small medicine box from the basket, and put it on the table. Then Shangguan Yen was dumbfounded again. First of all, she had a portrait of the twins. She looked at it day and night and had long imprinted their appearance in her mind. Of course, there was a difference between a portrait and a real person, but the difference between people was not that big. Two little guys. One was a replica of little Jiao Jiao, and the other was a replica of little Aheng. They were the biological ones, right? Looking at the small medicine box again, it was clearly Gu Jiao's. There was no mistake, right? Jiao Jiao and Aheng came? Shangguan Yen excitedly asked. Yi Qing was scared. He hated that half of his soul had not returned to his body. He expressionlessly said, "No, only the two of them came." Shangguan Yen, Zhao Country, Princess's Manor. Gu Jiao's murderous aura filled the entire manor. Even Xiao Hang did not dare to provoke her. Her small fists were clenched. "I think you want to be chopped up and burned as firewood." There was no need to guess where the small medicine box took the child. The State Teacher Hall's operating room, bet a pack of spicy strips. She was not worried that no one would find out. The operating room was guarded by death soldiers. When the child cried inside, Yi Qing would be called. This small medicine box is getting more and more naughty, and its ability is getting bigger and bigger. Clearly, it could only teleport itself in the past, but now it can carry the twins. Does this mean that its energy is also recovering little by little? The reason for this doubt was that Gu Jiao began to suspect a long time ago that tearing space was not an easy task for the small medicine box. It may consume all of its energy. This was probably why she had seen a small, tattered medicine box when she had first arrived. Gu Jiao rested her chin on her hands and muttered, "So, what is the origin of the small medicine box? How many surprises will there be after it recovers to 100%? Oh, it could also be a scare." Because the twins set off early, the original departure 3 days later was changed to early morning. "Mother, don't worry about me too much, I will soon." Xiao Hang had not finished his reluctant farewell when Princess Xenyang threw his bag into the carriage. "When you return to Zhao Country, remember to bring Yen Ernsung back." Xiao Hang. "Am I still the most beloved son in your heart? So love will disappear, right?" On the other side, Chong Kuan and Chong Jing also planned to set off. Chong Kuan and Marquis Xian Ping fought. The reason was that Marquis Xian Ping asked Chong Kuan to bring back the betrothal gifts. He did not have a daughter to marry Chong Jing. Chong Kuan said that the Dark Knight Island did not mind waiting for Xiao Yi to grow up. Then he was beaten by Marquis Xian Ping. Chong Kuan limped out with a big bump on his head. His face was bruised and swollen as he said to Chong Jing, "Your father, for your marriage." "I didn't even fight back," Chong Jing said unjustly. "I didn't say I was going to marry her, didn't I lie to you? I just wanted to leave the island." The next second, Chong Jing was also beaten. After growing up, he finally got beaten by his old father. The father and son sat face to face in the carriage, each holding a piece of ice wrapped in a handkerchief and sticking it to their swollen faces. Xiao Yi, who was 1 year and 4 months old, was held in Princess Xian Yang's arms. She waved goodbye to them. "Uncle Chong, see you. Brother Chong, Jing, see you." She wanted to say goodbye, but she was still young and could not express herself properly. The two of them also waved goodbye to her. Xiao Yi liked Chong Jing very much, but Chong Jing was too ugly after being beaten up. Xiao Yi cried because of his ugliness. Not long after, Dukan's carriage also arrived. Little Jing Kong jumped down from the carriage and clattered onto Gu Jiao's carriage. "Jiao, I've brought Daddy over." The way he addressed her changed according to how Gu Jiao addressed him. After Gu Jiao called Dukan father, little Jing Kong also changed the way he addressed him. Gu Jiao looked at the handsome little face in front of her and smiled. "Jing Kong is great." "Xiao Heng, haha. You're almost 8 years old. It's shameful to act cute." Xiao Heng asked indifferently, "You're going to the Yen Kingdom too?" Little Jing Kong said with arms akimbo, "Of course I'm going." "Where did Jiao go?" "I'm going there." Xiao Heng said indifferently, "Don't you need to study?" Little Jing Kong said, "You're there." Xiao Heng's mouth twitched. "Don't you need to practice martial arts?" Little Jing Kong spread his hands and smiled. "Long Yi is there." Xiao Heng was speechless. His whole family was full of big shots and had great resources. Little Jing Kong still akimbo and said arrogantly, "Humph. Don't you think you can monopolize Jiao?" Xiao Heng didn't argue with him, but said calmly, "Little Shi." The Horse King rushed over like lightning and made a sharp turn at the gate of the mansion. The horse's hooves were split. Little Jing Kong's attention was successfully attracted. Little Shi is here. Jiao, can I ride Little Shi?" "Okay." Gu Jiao replied. Someone who didn't know that he was tricked by his bad brother-in-law valiantly rode Little Shi. The Black Wind King led the entire convoy. His eyes were cold, and his aura was powerful. Even though he wasn't going to war, he was still exuding a murderous aura even though he was just strolling through the busy streets. It was 17 years old. Fortunately, it hadn't aged and could create more legends. Gu Jiao didn't allow the horse to ride on the street. Little Jing Kong and the Horse King couldn't bear it anymore. They finally got out of the capital city. One man and one horse decisively galloped on the open and flat official road. "Little Shi. Just a little faster. Faster. Waha. I'm flying. Ha ha ha. Bad brother-in-law can't catch up." The whole official road was filled with his little demonic voice. "Horse King, Zhan wants to remind you, Jiao can't catch up either." Little Jing Kong didn't show off for long. It rained heavily and one man and one horse were drenched. This year, the rain was especially heavy. After it rained in Zhao country, it rained in Yen country, and after it rained in Zhongzhou. Even Manager Zheng's old legs were getting cold. Just as the group of people were bitterly rushing on the road, the twins were comfortably lying in Yen country's most magnificent Feng Lin palace. They slept on soft and warm mattresses, covered with light and smooth quilts, and enjoyed the super luxurious treatment of 10 wet nurses. It's just that they were used to drinking milk powder and refused to drink breast milk. The wet nurses were only responsible for coaxing them to sleep. Originally, Shangguan Yan and Yi Qing were worried about the children's rations. Who would have thought that Yi Qing accidentally knocked the small medicine box off the table? The small medicine box fell to the ground and spat out a can of milk powder. Then, it smacked its lips and spat out 2 milk bottles. The stunned Yi Qing. Digression. At 6 in the evening, after eating a bowl of white rice, a plate of stir-fried pork with vegetables, and 20 Arctic sweet shrimps, I was hungry in less than 2 hours. Oh, want to eat braised pork knuckles. Steaming, soft, and the kind that melts in the mouth. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found on the internet are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/104444939. HTML Genius memorized this site's address. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 962. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. More novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. All the novels that can't be found on the internet are available here. After Shangguan Qing returned to the Yan kingdom, Shangguan Yan conferred him the title of the eldest son of the emperor. The people had never seen the former eldest son of the emperor, so they didn't know the change in his appearance. Therefore, they didn't have any doubts about the imperial edict. As for the people who had seen him, the enemies like Gong Sun you were already dead. As for the people who were on his side like Wan Renchong, they were all the confidants of the Shenyuan family and the State Master Hall. They wouldn't spread the news that was unfavorable to Shangguan Qing. As for Taoist Qing Feng and Wang Su, the former was face-blind and couldn't remember his appearance. As for the latter, Shangguan Qing chose to tell the truth. That's about it. My mother was worried that the State Master Hall wouldn't treat me if my identity was exposed. So, she asked me to wear my brother's face. On a black awning boat in the Imperial Palace's supreme liquid pool, Shangguan Qing put his hands behind his head and looked up at the starry sky. Wang Su sat beside him. After hearing the whole truth, he couldn't calm down for a long time. So, the eldest son of the emperor I saw in the State Master Hall was not you? Shangguan Qing held a green foxtail in his mouth and said casually, "It was my brother." Wang Su stood up with a swoosh. His movement was so big that the whole boat shook. Shangguan Qing looked at him in astonishment. He said sadly, "How could you do this?" "Huh?" Shangguan Qing was stunned. "It's my fault for hiding it from you," Wang Su said bitterly. "You betrayed me. You told your brother our secret signal." Shangguan Qing was speechless. "Isn't your point a bit off?" He wanted to say that he didn't tell them. These secret signals were all guessed by themselves. Besides, it wasn't their secret. He learned it from the State Master. He couldn't guarantee that the State Master didn't tell others. He looked at Wang Su embarrassedly. "Old Wang, you've changed." Wang Su clenched his fists tightly and turned his face away. "You used to call me Old Wang next door." Shangguan Qing was speechless. Lao Wang was too difficult to coax. After coming ashore from the supreme liquid pool, Shangguan Qing felt that his vitality was severely overdrawn. He didn't even want to walk. He ordered the palace servants to bring a sedan chair and sat on it to Fenglin Palace. In the Yan Kingdom, adult princes had to leave the palace and build another mansion. This was a rule set by the ancestors and also to avoid suspicion with the concubines in the harem. However, the beauties in this harem were all men. What was there for Shangguan Qing to avoid? He settled down in the palace. He planned to first go to his mother's place to pay his respects and freeload a midnight snack on the way. Who would have thought that as soon as he entered Shangguan Yan's bedroom, he smelled a milky fragrance, followed by a burst of babbling sounds. He frowned and walked toward the inner hall with a strange expression. He saw his mother sitting on the bright yellow dragon bed, holding a baby in her arms, feeding him with a milk bottle. Yi Qing sat on a stool beside the bed, also holding a baby and feeding him with a milk bottle. His hair stood on end. "It can't be, right? I just went out for a while. Mother, you and Yi Qing already have a family of 4. You don't want so many beauties in the harem, so you like Yi Qing." He had to say that in this regard, the mother and son's brain circuits were the same. "Mother." He was so scared that his voice was muffled. Shangguan Yen smiled at him. "Come here and see your little nephew and niece." It turned out that it was not a younger brother or sister, but a nephew and niece. He breathed a sigh of relief and almost thought that Yi Qing had become his father. His little nephew and niece only had a pair of twins, a boy and a girl. He strode over and asked excitedly, "Stinky brother is here?" Shangguan Yen repeated Yi Qing's words one by one. "No, only the 2 of them are here." Shangguan Qing, the dragon and phoenix twins, began their life in the great Yen imperial palace. Shangguan Yen would never wrong her pair of little grandsons. The next day, she took the twins to the court and publicly announced that she had found the long-lost second prince Shangguan Heng not long ago. She conferred the son of the second prince as the Prince of Yongla, and conferred the daughter of the second prince as the Princess of Kongning. The great Yen welcomed the imperial grandsons of the Dragon and Phoenix Emperor. As a result, before the father could enjoy the treatment of a prince for even a day, the twins had already become imperial grandsons who were greatly favored by the emperor. Gu Jiao and Xiao Heng arrived in Chengdu at the end of June. Because of the bad weather, the journey that could have been finished in 1.5 months took an extra month. When Wu Cixi went to the palace gate to greet the second prince and the young commander, he almost didn't recognize them. Was this swarthy Xiao He couple really the handsome little master, as well as the little commander who was said to have recovered her devastatingly beautiful appearance? Xiao Heng said with no love for life, "Just now, a charcoal chariot overturned." The 2 people first sent Dukan back to his mansion before entering the palace. On the way, little Shi knocked over a charcoal chariot, covering the 2 people's faces with dust. However, it was true that the 2 people were tanned and lost weight. Wu Cixi invited the 2 people to Feng Lin Palace. "His Majesty is in the court and will come over in a moment. Young prince and young princess can enjoy the cool air in the pavilion." The 2 people went to the pavilion. Little Milk Bun was born on the 9th of February. Now, he was almost 5 months old. He was white and chubby, and his little arms and legs were like lotus roots. Moreover, because Long Yi didn't give Xiao Yan a midnight meal, and Xiao Yi snatched food from Xiao Tsung gradually caught up with Xiao Yan. Although Xiao Tsung tried very hard to be a quiet and beautiful little boy, the instinct of a baby made him move his little arms and legs from time to time. In particular, there was a strange telepathy between the twins. Often, when Xiao Yan called out, he would also uncontrollably make a sound. The 2 people happened to hear Xiao Tsung's sound, and the exhaustion of the journey disappeared in a puff of smoke. They thought that after being separated for so long, the twins wouldn't recognize them, but who would have thought that they weren't? When the 2 of them washed up and appeared in front of the twins burst into tears. At this time, they finally knew that they were missing their parents. Gu Jiao turned around and saw that Xiao Heng's eyes were also red. Gu Jiao, a person's temperament would undergo a series of changes along with the change of status. Since Shangguan Yen ascended the throne as the empress, she also imperceptibly had the majesty and fierceness of a ruler. She knew that this dynasty was unfair to women. At that time, she was able to become the Empress Dowager because of favorable conditions. First, her father was tyrannical enough to suppress his anger. Second, she was the only legitimate child of the Empress. Third, Shenyuan family was strong enough to give her strong support. But that feeling of dissatisfaction had always been there. After she ascended the throne, these problems gradually surfaced. She couldn't show the slightest weakness, otherwise, she would be bitten by others. Only in front of people that she truly trusted and cared about would she remove her disguise. Eheng. She came to the entrance of the bedroom and saw Xiao Heng playing with the twins. The murderous aura of an emperor faded, and endless gentleness filled her eyes. Xiao Hang turned his head and looked at her with a slight smile. Mother. Shangguan Yan's eyes became moist. Shangguan Qing did not know that his stinky younger brother had entered the palace today. He went out to play. Shangguan Yan and the young couple ate lunch in Feng Lin Palace. This was the first time that Shangguan Yan saw Gu Jiao without the birthmark. She was shocked. Although she guessed that Gu Jiao would be very beautiful without the birthmark, she never thought that she would be so beautiful. If she went to the military camp like this, those young men would go crazy, right? Jiao Jiao, eat. Shangguan Yan gave Gu Jiao a piece of soft rock sugar pork shoulder. Aheng said that you like to eat this. Gu Jiao tasted it. The sauce was very thick with rock sugar and braised ingredients. Coupled with a handful of red pepper, the taste was completely immersed in the meat. Although it was spicy, it was sweet and not greasy, spicy and not dry. Gu Jiao liked it very much. Thinking of something, Gu Jiao asked her, "Right, mother, how is your injury? Does it still hurt?" Xiao Hang looked at Shangguan Yan. Gu Jiao was referring to the 8 nails in her back. Shangguan Yan shook her head. It didn't hurt a long time ago. I don't feel any different from before. Gu Jiao said, "Then let's go to the Imperial Tutor's hall in a while. I will take out the screws for you." Shangguan Yan thought for a while. Does it hurt? Gu Jiao said, I used anesthetics, it doesn't hurt. In the afternoon, the 3 went to the Imperial Tutor's hall. He came to meet the 3 people. When he saw Gu Jiao, he didn't dare to recognize her. Of course, he already knew Gu Jiao's true identity from his senior brother. He also heard that Gu Jiao had recovered her appearance, but wasn't this recovery a bit too much? Was she really not a fairy that descended to the world? Gu Jiao curved her lips. Long time no see, little Master Yu. Her voice was also different. When Gu Jiao was dressed as a man, she used a young man's voice. Yu was shocked to the extreme, but fortunately Yi Qing came over. Yi Qing took them to the secret room. Shangguan Yan's condition was good. All the test results were normal. The operation to remove the pedicle screws was also very successful. Shangguan Yan stayed in the operating room for observation for 24 hours. Xiao Hang accompanied her. Gu Jiao came out of the secret room and said to Yi Qing, who was guarding the door, "Take me to pay respects to your master." Yi Qing was stunned. He opened his mouth. "You?" Gu Jiao's eyes swept over the mourning cloth on his arm. "Let's go." Yi Qing's throat slid. The emotions in his chest rolled, his throat swelled, and suddenly an impulse to cry. He didn't ask how Gu Jiao guessed. If she didn't have such a clever mind, she couldn't have become the first Lord of the Shadows. He took Gu Jiao to the purple bamboo forest. The small study there was carefully tidied up. Except for the small clay figurines and portraits that were given to Gu Jiao, the rest of the furnishings were unchanged. Jing Yinin's graffiti was also there. As if this person didn't disappear from their side, he still lived in their lives. Just by looking back, they could see a certain sage-like state preceptor standing at the door. Gu Jiao stroked Jing Yinin's picture album. "Did your master pass away peacefully?" Yi Qing said sadly, "I heard from you that he was very peaceful." He lied to Gu Jiao. In fact, he didn't see his master for the last time. The person who went to the Dark Night Island to find him was not his master, but Yu He, who held his master's letter. Gu Jiao whispered, "Is it for Shenyuan Qi?" Shenyuan Qi's life had come to an end in Ghost Mountain. In the Battle of Puching City, he had exhausted all his strength. He could survive and get better day by day. Perhaps it was not only a miracle created by the purple grass poison. Yi Qing choked and nodded. Master said that he was sorry for the Shenyuan family, and he paid his life to Shenyuan Qi. It was also atonement to the Shenyuan family. It was only later that he understood why his master asked him to go to the border and even gave him the purple grass poison. His master had predicted Shenyuan Qi's fate and also predicted his character. He would not leave Shenyuan Qi in the lurch. Everything was in his master's plan. From the day he left the state preceptor's hall for the border, his master had been waiting for death peacefully in Chengdu. Gu Jiao murmured, "No wonder when I saw him after coming back from the border, he was so old. He changed Shenyuan Qi's fate and exhausted his life." Yi Qing turned around and wiped his tears. After calming down, he said to Gu Jiao, "Master knows that you are Jing Yinin." He told Shenyuan Li that when Yinin was a child, Marshal Shenyuan always secretly took her home for this reason. It was the greatest wish of Master and Marshal Shenyuan to watch the Lord of Shadows grow up. Gu Jiao understood a lot in an instant. Was it because of this that Shenyuan Li melted his armor and gave it to Jing Yinin? Was it also because of this that he insisted on letting Jing Yinin practice martial arts no matter how weak she was when she was a child? Yi Qing thought of his master, and tears came out involuntarily again. Master said that he couldn't protect Yinin well, but they all hoped to protect you. He changed Shenyuan Qi's fate not only because he owed the Shenyuan family, but also because he hoped that there could be someone stronger than himself in this world to protect you. Gu Jiao stroked the two words Yin, inscribed by the state preceptor on the picture album. She raised her hand and pressed her heart, suddenly feeling a little uncomfortable here. Digression: after the state preceptor's explanation, the Dark Knight Island's explanation is also done. Little Jing Kong is about to grow up. Little Jing Kong's length is a little longer, but it is a complete story. I will indicate it in the title. Whose story do you like to read? You can read it according to the title. P.S. I'm not pregnant with a baby. It's autumn, and people's appetite is really strong. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all the novels that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_826/1044444482. HTML Genius remembers this site's address in a second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile version reading website, zhhbqg.com. Chapter 963. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. After paying respects to the state preceptor in the purple bamboo forest, Gu Jiao went to the operating room to check on Shangguan Yan's situation. Shangguan Yan fell asleep. Xiao Hang said that she didn't feel any discomfort, but she was a little hungry. When mother wakes up, she can eat some porridge. Gu Jiao said, and then said, I'll go to Guogong Fu. I promised Jing Kong to pick him up tonight. Little Jing Kong and Long Yi accompanied Guogong Fu back home. Xiao Hang raised his hand to tidy up the hair on her temples. I'll pick you up later. Okay. Gu Jiao responded and turned out of the operating room. Jiao Jiao. Xiao Hang softly called her. Are you okay? Gu Jiao didn't tell Xiao Hang about the state preceptor, but since Gu Jiao could guess it, Xiao Hang naturally couldn't be unaware. Her emotions were lighter than ordinary people, but as long as she cared about a person, even the slightest emotion couldn't escape her eyes. Gu Jiao paused at the door, suddenly turned around, walked in front of him, and put her forehead on his strong chest. Every time she was depressed, she would seek comfort in his arms in this way. Xiao Hang gently wrapped his arm around her slender waist and stroked her head comfortingly with his other hand. In fact, even if Xiao Hang didn't find out, she could deal with her emotions. But he always found out and comforted her in time. He never said a word to her not to be sad. She was also a human, she could be sad, she didn't need to be so strong. Shangguan Yan slept for the whole afternoon and finally woke up. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw her son and daughter-in-law hugging each other. She opened her mouth. Well, she was full. She was full of dog food. Xiao Hang hugged Gu Jiao and comforted her. Gu Jiao's forehead was still pressed against his warm and firm chest, a pair of white hands pinching his belt. This was a sign that her mood had improved. "Mother is awake," she whispered. Xiao Heng's eyes flickered and his eyelashes trembled. "I'm leaving." Gu Jiao curled her lips wickedly and turned to leave the operating theater, leaving Xiao Heng alone to face the awkward scene of the bag being grabbed. Gu Jiao rode on Black Wind King's horse. She had also ridden the Black Wind King in Zhao country, but it felt different. The familiar streets, the familiar atmosphere, and the sound of heavy traffic evoked endless memories. The Heavenly Fragrance Academy, the archery tournament, the selection of the Black Wind Cavalry's commander. Everything was still vivid in his mind, as if it had happened yesterday. Gu Jiao patted Black Wind King's neck and said, "Boss, let's go to the Duke's public house." Black Wind King galloped with Gu Jiao on the familiar streets. Its aura was too strong and could easily scare other horses, so it tried to avoid the crowd and walked through empty alleys. When one person and one horse walked halfway, a broken tile suddenly flew in front of them. Seeing that it was about to hit Gu Jiao, Black Wind King turned right and agilely dodged. Then, more and more tiles and even hidden weapons came one after another. Someone was fighting. "Where do you think you're going? Today, either you die or I die." Gu Jiao frowned. "This voice. Boss." She held the reins tightly and her eyes were like torches. Black Wind King and she had a tacit understanding from the battlefield. It sped up and galloped forward like lightning. It was a dilapidated alley. A third of the wall at the end had collapsed, but it was still taller than a person. Gu Jiao tightened her grip on the horse's belly and lifted it slightly. Black Wind King jumped over the wall. Gu Jiao did not bring the red tasseled spear, but she had other weapons with her. She untied the whip that was wrapped around her waist, and with a wave of her hand, she swung it at the two people who were fighting with each other. The black-clothed man seemed to have the upper hand. He thrust his sword at the veiled woman on the ground. But before he knew it, his wrist holding the sword was suddenly grabbed by a powerful force. He was shocked and turned his head to look. Black Wind King raised its front hooves and stomped on him. He tried to pull the owner of the whip off the horse, but he obviously did not have the strength to do so. He could only choose to dodge to the side. On the surface, it looked like he had dodged the attack. However, Gu Jiao pulled with a backhand motion, sending him flying into the air and slamming him against the thick wall. "Ah!" The man in black felt a sharp pain in his chest and back. He screamed as he fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Gu Jiao jumped off the horse. When he was about to get up, she stepped on his chest and mercilessly stomped him back to the ground. The man in black felt like all the bones in his body were broken. His head hit the ground and his brain was almost scattered. Gu Jiao ignored his pain and turned to look at the woman on the side. "Teacher's wife Nan, are you all right?" That's right, the person being chased by the man in black was Teacher's wife Nan, who she had not seen in a long time. When Teacher's wife Nan heard Gu Jiao's voice, she couldn't help being stunned. She looked at Gu Jiao's face and didn't dare to recognize her. "It's me, Teacher's wife Nan," Gu Jiao said. Teacher's wife Nan's eyes almost popped out. "Jiao Jiao? Your face." "Oh, the birthmark is gone," Gu Jiao said. She glanced at the man in black under her feet and asked, "Teacher's wife Nan, who is he?" Teacher's wife Nan stood up with the help of the wall. She patted the dust off her body and came to Gu Jiao's side. "He's from the Tang sect." Then, she moved her fingertips and shot out a poisonous needle, sealing the man's throat. Gu Jiao took her foot back and asked Teacher's wife Nan, "Teacher's wife, what's going on? Earlier, you said that you would stay in Shang due to deal with some personal matters. Is it related to the Tang sect?" Teacher's wife Nan sighed helplessly. "It's a long story." Gu Jiao looked around. "Where's Master Lu?" Teacher's wife Nan said, "He went to kill another disciple of the Tang sect. I arranged to meet him at Li's tea house." Gu Jiao knew that tea house. She had brought little Jing Kong there to eat the snacks. It was 3 miles away on Bai Luo Street. She said, "I'll accompany Teacher's wife Nan to wait for Master Lu." Teacher's wife Nan asked, "Will it delay you?" "No." Gu Jiao shook her head. She had to prioritize things. She believed that little Jing Kong would not be angry. The two rode the Black Wind King to Li's tea house and asked for a room on the second floor facing the street. Gu Jiao opened the window and sat beside it with teacher's wife Nan. The view here was very good. They could see the whole street. If Master Lu came nearby, they could see him at first glance. Gu Jiao poured a cup of tea for teacher's wife Nan. Right, Jiao Jiao, why did you come to Yen country? Also, your birthmark, how did it disappear? I heard that you and Ah Heng got married. It's a pity that I couldn't attend your wedding. I'm really sorry. Teacher's wife Nan had too many things to say. She was not only concerned about Gu Jiao and Xiao Heng's situation, but also missed Gu Xiaoshun and Gu Yen. Actually, it's not a birthmark. It's a mark of chastity. Gu Jiao told her the abbot's drunken blunder. After teacher's wife Nan heard it, she did not know what to say. After that, Gu Jiao told her about the other people's recent situation. Gu Yen and Gu Xiaoshun were studying at Qinghe Academy. Gu Chengfeng was a captain in the military camp and did not go to the academy. They would all study martial arts in the future. Gu Chongqing inherited the Gu family army and married Yuan Baolin. Xiao Heng became a junior advisor in July last year. At the end of the year, Grand Secretary Yuan's health was not good and he handed in his resignation document. In February this year, Xiao Heng took over the position of Grand Secretary. Grandmother-in-law and son-in-law were very healthy. Grandmother-in-law returned to his original position and often visited the imperial palace. Gu Xiaobao was 2.5 years old. He was a lazy and smart child. Yao Shi was also doing well. Ah Heng and Jing Kong also came. Ah Heng is in the imperial palace. Jing Kong is in Ducan's manor. Gu Jiao spoke in detail, slow and patient. Seeing that everyone was well, teacher's wife Nan was very happy. That's good, that's good. But teacher's wife Nan, what's the situation on your side? Ha! Teacher's wife Nan touched her face with her veil. Speaking of which, it's an old grudge. That year, I left the Tang sect because my martial arts were crippled. I did not owe the Tang sect anything. I naively thought that the Tang sect would do as they said and would not make things difficult for me. Later on, I went to Zhao country and got to know your Master Lu. Speaking to this point, she paused then smiled slightly. You might have guessed it. Master Lu is Zhao country's Master Lu. He once received a favor from Elder Feng. At the time, Ah Heng came to him and had your Master Lu take Xiaoshun and Yen as disciples, and he agreed. Gu Jiao had indeed guessed this about Master Lu's identity. Thus, hearing what teacher's wife Nan said, she did not feel too surprised. Teacher's wife Nan recalled and said, When I first got together with your Master Lu, my face was not disfigured. Unfortunately, I was noticed by the Emperor of Zhao country when I was sightseeing. I don't know what the Emperor of Zhao country was thinking. He clearly knew that I was already someone's wife, but he still invited the two of us into the imperial palace. He hosted a banquet in the imperial garden for the two of us. During the banquet, everyone drank a bit of wine. I went to the pavilion to the side to sober up and did not think that I would offend Empress Xiao. What happened after that? Gu Jiao asked. Teacher's wife Nan picked up her teacup and smiled bitterly. After that, we left the banquet. On the way back, your Master Lu and I encountered an assassination attempt. My face was disfigured at that time. The culprit escaped without a trace, and I have not been able to find them after so many years. Gu Jiao rubbed her chin. Normal people would probably think that it was done by Empress Xiao. Teacher's wife Nan nodded. That's right. Your Master Lu and I suspected it at first, but so what if we suspected her? She is the Empress of Zhao country and is the younger sister of Marquis Xian Ping. We are alone and weak, so we could not do anything to her. Your Master Lu hates Empress Xiao and also hates the source of the tragedy, the Emperor of Zhao country. If it was not for him coveting my beauty and inviting the two of us into the palace, I would not have offended Empress Xiao. He no longer works for the court and has been living in seclusion ever since. Not long after you left for battle last year, I once again encountered the culprit that had disfigured me. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are all the novels that you can't find on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/1044293881. HTML Genius remembers this site's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 964. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. It's people from the Tang sect? Gu Jiao combined what happened today and came up with this guess. A cold light flashed past Mistress Nan's eyes. That's right, it's people from the Tang sect. I managed to get a lot of information out of that person. Only then did I find out that the Tang sect has always been brooding over my departure. Just like Qi Xian, they all think that I secretly comprehended some incredible cultivation method, which allowed me to learn the highest martial arts of the sect. They have always wanted to capture me and bring me back. Gu Jiao didn't ask why Mistress Nan didn't say so earlier. She understood Mistress Nan's personality, she didn't want to cause trouble for them. She looked at Mistress Nan and said seriously, "Mistress Nan, leave the Tang sect to me." Mistress Nan looked at her in shock. "What do you want to do?" Gu Jiao said lightly, "Flatten the Tang sect. The Zhonghu sects and the imperial court have always minded their own business. Even Qi Xian left the Tang sect before joining the Han family." Gu Jiao had no intention to make things difficult for the Zhonghu sects, but if anyone from the Tang sect dared to bully the Dragon King's temple, then they shouldn't blame the Black Wind Camp's cavalry for trampling on the Tang sect's mountain. Jiao Jiao. Mistress Nan didn't want to trouble Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao looked into her eyes. "Mistress Nan, the Gu family asked me for 20 years to buy off their relationship with Gu Xiaoshan. Gu Xiaoshuan's parents personally received the 2 silver ingots. They were very happy. A useless son could be sold for 20 years. They felt that it was a good deal." Mistress Nan never expected that there was such a terrible truth behind Gu Xiaoshuan's break with the Gu family. "You and Master Lu treat Xiaoshan as your own son. I don't want Xiaoshan to lose his parents who love him so much." Mistress Nan was silent. Gu Jiao continued, "What's more, when a yen was injured, didn't you all come to the Yen kingdom regardless of everything?" Master Nan and Master Lu's kindness to his 2 younger brothers could not be described in a few words. Gu Jiao would not allow anyone to harm Nan Shenyang. The 2 of them sat for a while longer before Master Lu came over in a hurry. Nan Shenyang waved at him from the 2nd floor. He looked up and saw his madam first. There was no doubt about it. But who was the young lady opposite madam? He went to the side room. "Are you hurt?" Madam Nan asked. "I didn't. What about you?" Master Lu asked. "I'm fine too. Let's see who's here." Madam Nan smiled at Gu Jiao. "You definitely won't recognize her." Master Lu's gaze fell on Gu Jiao's flawless face. After a long while he stammered, It can't be Jiao Jiao, right?" "Master Lu." Gu Jiao greeted him with a smile. Master Lu staggered and bumped into the wall beside him. "So it really was Jiao Jiao? Did she change her face?" "No, her facial features were no different from before. But without the birthmark, it was as if she had been reborn. Jiao Jiao's face is better now." Madam Nan did not mention the chastity mark. Master Lu only thought that Gu Jiao's medical skills were superior. He was quite pleased that she cured herself. He did not judge people by their appearance. Gu Jiao did not either. But as an elder, He still did not want those bad looks to fall on Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao asked, Master Lu, Madam Nan, where do you live now? Is it still the same courtyard as before? Madam Nan said gently, we moved to the inner city. We live in Chui Lu Lane. Gu Jiao said happily, it's in the same direction as the House of Duke. If you don't mind, you can go to the House of Duke for dinner tonight. Jing Kong will be very happy to see you. The two of them found it difficult to refuse such kindness. They went to a nearby car shop to rent a carriage and went to the House of Duke with Gu Jiao. The three of them went to the House of Duke and first. They did not see little Jing Kong. Instead, they met another familiar figure. He was dressed in white and had a tall figure. His face was handsome and noble. Who else could it be other than Mu Qingchen? When Mu Qingchen heard that the House of Duke had returned to Shangdu, he immediately put down his work and came to visit. He had just come out of the House of Duke and did not expect to meet Gu Jiao at the door. Even Madame Nan had heard that the commander of the Black Wind Cavalry was actually a woman. As a member of the 10 great aristocratic families, how could he not know? Gu Jiao was wearing a green dress with narrow sleeves and a girdle. Her body was light and her waist was slim. The material of the dress was the best soft smoke gauze. When the sun shone on it, it reflected a thin layer of hazy light. This soft smoke gauze was a specialty of the Jin nation. It was a tribute from the Jin nation to the Empress. The Empress did not keep a single one for herself and sent them all to the House of Duken. How did he know about this? It was because he was the one who counted and escorted the tribute from the Jin nation. His gaze finally fell on Gu Jiao's face. Then, he was dumbfounded. Madame Nan sensed that the atmosphere was not right. She looked at Gu Jiao and said, Jiao Jiao, your Master Lu and I will first. Madame Nan. Little Jing Kong's surprised voice suddenly came from the courtyard. Madame Nan looked at Gu Jiao and Mu Qingchen with a smile and said, let's go to Jing Kong first. You two have a chat. Then, she dragged Master Lu, who wanted to gossip, to meet Jing Kong. Gu Jiao's reaction was calmer than Mu Qingchen's. She tilted her head slightly and greeted Mu Qingchen as usual, Mu Qingchen. She used her original voice. Mu Qingchen was stunned again. Gu Jiao put her hands behind her back and thought for a while. Well, long time no see. How are you? Was this the way to exchange greetings after a long separation? It took Mu Qingchen a full minute to adapt to her identity as a woman, her appearance, and her voice. Countless emotions that Gu Jiao could not understand flashed across his eyes. He seemed to be in disbelief or something else. In short, it was very complicated. Mu Qingchen, what's wrong with you? Gu Jiao asked. Mu Qingchen's hands under his wide sleeves clenched little by little. He walked slowly toward Gu Jiao and said in a hoarse voice, I came here today not only to visit Duken, but also to see you. Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows. See me? What's the matter? Mu Qingchen looked around. There are too many people here. Let's talk somewhere else. The people in the public house had been eliminated long ago. Those who were left were all trustworthy. Gu Jiao looked at him strangely. Okay, wait for me. She went into the courtyard and arranged for Madame Nan and Master Lu to meet Duken. Then, she went to a secluded pavilion in the public house with Mu Qingchen. Gu Jiao stood in the pavilion and said to him, You can tell me now. Mu Qingchen hesitated for a moment and took out a doll from his wide sleeve. It was an extremely terrifying doll. It had a bloody mouth, sharp teeth, blind eyes, and bald hair. The memory that Gu Jiao had put aside came back to her. She had made a doll like this in her previous life. Inin gave it to me. Mu Qingchen looked into Gu Jiao's eyes and said. Gu Jiao was stunned for a moment. She took the doll and said, You know, the state preceptor told me. Mu Qingchen clenched his fists and felt bitter. So you didn't lie to me. You said you would come back. You really came back. Gu Jiao didn't have a complete memory of Jing Inin. She couldn't remember what Mu Qingchen said. The only thing she was sure of was that Jing Inin had mastered the secret of time travel. She knew she could come back here. Inin's health has always been poor. Mu Qingchen said, the purple grass poison couldn't completely merge with her. Back then, the monarch sent someone to assassinate Inin. But in fact, the real cause of her death was the purple grass poison. The state preceptor even told Mu Qingchen this. Gu Jiao said, what else do you know about Jing Inin? For example, her other identity? You. Mu Qingchen looked at her with a complicated expression. It seemed that she didn't know about the Lord of Shadows. Gu Jiao returned the little doll to him. Don't you want to take it back? Mu Qingchen asked. It's for you. Gu Jiao said. Mu Qingchen held the doll that had accompanied him for more than 10 years. He couldn't calm down the surging emotions in his chest. If, before he could finish speaking, Gu Jiao took a step forward and gently hugged him. Mu Qingchen froze and widened his eyes in disbelief. Gu Jiao said, this is for you from Inin. Mu Qingchen's arms trembled slightly. His eyes reddened unconsciously. He raised his head and forced the tears back to the corners of his eyes. He raised his arms and wanted to hug his Inin, but his hand stopped in mid-air, an inch away from her. He was too late. Gu Jiao withdrew her hand and looked at him. She said seriously, Mu Qingchen, thank you. Thank you for protecting Inin. Thank you for taking care of Duke. And Mu Qingchen collected his emotions in time and said calmly, I'm done. You should go and see Duke and don't let him wait too long. I should go back. Gu Jiao said, I'll see you off. Mu Qingchen said, no, you go first. Then, okay. Gu Jiao said goodbye to him and turned to walk down the pavilion. Looking at the beautiful figure gradually disappearing in the twilight, Mu Qingchen finally couldn't bear it anymore. He turned around and closed his eyes. A drop of hot tears fell down. Digression. You're so early today, where's the hard-working Fong Fongzai? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/1044283668. HTML Genius memorized the website address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 965. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found online will be available here. Gu Jiao returned to the main courtyard of Duke An's mansion. The people of the second branch also came, and the courtyard was very lively. They didn't see the touching scene of Madame Nan and little Jing Kong acknowledging each other, but they saw the scene of Second Master Jing hugging his eldest brother and crying bitterly. Woo-woo. Eldest brother. Why were you gone for so long? I thought you wouldn't come back. For a man to cry like that, it was really a bit unbearable to look at. Second Madame Nan pulled his sleeve and said awkwardly, all right, everyone is here. Look at you. Dukan was also disgusted by his younger brother's tears and snot. Other than the couple of the second branch, there were a few unfamiliar faces in the courtyard. There was a 10-year-old boy and 2 6- or 7-year-old girls. The 3 of them looked like Second Master Jing and Second Madame Nan, so they must be their children. Gu Jiao didn't see them the last time she came to the Yen Kingdom. Later, she learned from Duke and that Second Madame Nan's mother's condition was not good, so she sent the 3 children to Yu City, which was 100 miles away, to accompany their grandmother. Not long before her wedding with Xiao Hang, Second Madame Nan's mother's condition suddenly worsened. Second Master Jing and his wife went to Yu City to visit old Madame Nan, so they missed their wedding. Second Madame Nan didn't want to bother with her husband. She took Madame Nan's hand and said softly, "Sorry for making a fool of ourselves. Let's go and admire the flowers." Madame Nan was a person of Jianghu. The noble ladies she met in the past all disdained to associate with people of Jianghu. Second Madame Nan was different from them. She could feel Second Madame Nan's sincere acceptance. Zhao Jiao was surrounded by very good people. Madame Nan smiled and agreed. Zhao Jiao. Little Jing Kong, who was showing off his height to Master Lu, saw Gu Jiao calmly walking over. For the sake of Zhao Jiao, little Jing Kong, who could give up everything, decisively left Master Lu behind and ran to Gu Jiao. Zhao Jiao. I haven't seen you for a day. I miss you so much. Nonsense, they had clearly seen each other at the courtyard entrance just now. Gu Jiao patted his little head. In the past, she could touch it just by stretching out her arm. Now, she had to lift it up. Gu Jiao's arrival saved Nguogong from the fire and water. Finally, he didn't have to face his snotty brother anymore. Second Master Jing wanted to cry again. It would be best if he cried until his eldest brother wouldn't dare to abandon him in the future. But when his gaze landed on Gu Jiao, his crying stopped abruptly. He was originally a foppish and dissolute person. Back then, in order to see the beauties of the Azure Water Women's Academy, he had specially pushed his elder brother to watch the archery competition. Gu Jiao's clothes weren't luxurious at all. Her hair accessories and hairstyle were extremely simple. But the more simple it was, the more it highlighted her beauty and temperament. Second Master Jing swallowed his saliva. It can't be. This is sixth son? What Lu Lang? It's Zhao Jiao. Second Madam glared at him. And she's your little niece. I know. He was simply stunned by her appearance. He didn't have any dirty thoughts. Second Madam introduced the three children of the second branch to Gu Jiao. The eldest son, Jing Lan, was 10 years old this year. The eldest daughter, Jing Li, was 7 years old this year. The second daughter, Jing Meng, was 5 years old this year. The three children obediently called her their eldest sister. The second branch didn't know that Gu Jiao was Gu Jiao, but they were certain that Gu Jiao was Dukan's eldest daughter. They heard that Dukan's stepmother was a virtuous woman. The son she gave birth to inherited her character. She taught her son well and chose a daughter-in-law for her son. She didn't care about family background and valued character. Gu Jiao had never seen the late old madam in this life, but she could feel the reason and kindness that the old madam had left behind in this harmonious family. All right, it's getting late. Let's go to the dining room to eat. As Dukan spoke, he stood up from the wheelchair. Second Master Jing's body shook again. Damn. What the hell? His elder brother stood up. Dukan was getting better day by day. Not only could he stand, but he could also walk more than 10 steps. It wasn't too strenuous. The whole family ate dinner at Dukan's residence. After a long journey, Dukan's body couldn't take it anymore and wanted to rest. He said gently to Gu Jiao, "You should go back to the palace early to rest. You're going to visit your granduncle tomorrow, right? He's in the Black Wind camp. I'm afraid he doesn't know that you're back. You can give him a surprise if you go there." Little Jing Kong jumped up. "I want to go too. I want to go too." Gu Jiao curved her lips. "Okay." Master Lu and Mistress Nan also bid farewell to him. He smiled and said, "Dukan's residence is Zhao Jiao's home. Master Lu and Mistress Nan are family. We should keep in touch with each other in the future. If you don't mind, I'd like to pay you a visit sometime." Master Lu was flattered. "Oh, my humble house is shabby." Dukan thought that he agreed and said with a smile, then it settled. "I'll pay you a visit in 3 days." He wasn't being polite. He was sincerely trying to befriend these two people from Jianghu. Master Lu was happy and moved. He didn't refuse and told him his home's address. "We'll be waiting for Dukan at any time." Coming out of the Dukan's residence, Gu Jiao looked up at the crescent moon in the sky. "Huh. Aheng said that he would come to pick her up. Why didn't he come? Did something happen? Gu Zhao guessed correctly. Something did happen. Shangguan Yen needed to be operated on today to remove the screws. Gu Zhao and Xiao Hang went to the state teacher's hall. The children were left in the imperial palace to be taken care of by Wu Cixi and the wet nurses. Long Yi wasn't there because Long Yi didn't stay in Shangdu instead. He went to Dark Knight Island with Chong Kuan and his son. The imperial palace of Dian was heavily guarded, so no bad people could sneak in. Before Gu Zhao and Xiao Hang arrived in Yen country, the twins lived peacefully like this. Therefore, no one felt that there was anything wrong with this arrangement. The problem was with a beauty in the imperial harem. This person's surname was Zhao. She was a beauty offered by the Dong family, one of the 10 great families. After Shangguan Yen ascended the throne, the power of the great families was reshuffled. The Nangong family and the Han family were completely removed. The remaining 9 great families also suffered great losses. In order to consolidate their power, the great families followed Jin country's example and offered beauties to the imperial palace. Among them, there was one named Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu was like his name. His face was delicate like jade, and his figure was tall and slightly thin. He belonged to the category of a weak willow in the wind. At dusk, when he was strolling in the imperial garden, he happened to see the twins being carried out by the wet nurse. Shangguan Yen had already announced to the public that the 2 were imperial grandsons. However, there was a secret rumor in the imperial palace. That was that Imperial Tutor Yi had used a secret technique from the state teacher's hall to give birth to a dragon for Shangguan Yen. In order to keep the secret, they announced to the public that they were the second prince's flesh and blood. There was no second prince before. How come when the twins came, the second prince popped out? Since they were the second prince's flesh and blood, why didn't they bring the second prince into the palace? The twins had been here for 2 months before the second prince and his wife arrived late. Don't tell me that the 2 children can come to the palace by themselves. Shangguan Yen must have spent 2 months to find a second prince from the people. The more Zhao Yu thought about it, the more he felt that he was too smart. He saw through everything that others did not see through. His Majesty gave all his love to the twins and did not even look at the beauties in the imperial harem. Only when the twins were gone would His Majesty notice the beauties in the imperial harem. Anger rose from the heart, and evil grew from the side. Zhao Yu, who usually did not dare to speak loudly for fear of offending people, was overwhelmed by jealousy at this moment and fell into a trance. He walked towards the twins. He was popular in the imperial harem, and the wet nurses also knew him. He smiled and went to greet the twins. No one knew that he actually knew a little about medicine. He knew that the palace was dangerous. In order to protect himself, he carried a self-defense poison all year round. That kind of poison was colorless and tasteless. After swallowing or inhaling it, nothing strange would happen for 3 days. It would not start to be toxic until the 4th day. Generally, when poisoned, they would only check what they ate and touched that day. They would never check the contact 3 days ago. This method was very safe. The young prince and the young princess are so cute, he said with a smile. The 2 wet nurses had already put the twins back in the cradle. Looking at the twins, it was hard for them not to agree with Beauty Zhao's words. The 2 little masters were really the most beautiful babies they had ever seen. The weather is very hot. Zhao Yu opened the folding fan and fanned himself first. Then, when no one was paying attention, he sprinkled the powder on the folding fan. He turned around and saw the twins looking at him with their eyes wide open. His eyebrows twitched. He suddenly felt guilty as if he had been caught in the act. Soon, he calmed down. No, it was just 2 babies. So what if they saw? Could they understand, or could they speak? Zhao Yu held the folding fan and walked towards the twins' cradle step by step. The twins looked at him for 3 seconds. Suddenly, they clenched their fists in tacit understanding and cried loudly. Oh, what's wrong with the young princess and the young prince? The older wet nurse was the first to speak. Everyone surrounded them, wanting to see what was wrong with the little masters. Zhao Yu was suddenly blocked outside. Now, He couldn't fan them no matter how hard he tried. However, there was always a way out. He inadvertently found the perfect opportunity to commit a crime. The cradle was placed in the pavilion. The floor was hard and there were steps below. As long as he tripped the wet nurse in front of him, she would fall on the cradle and throw the twins out. The children's heads were heavy. If they fell, they would definitely hit their heads on the ground. If he was lucky enough, they might even roll down the steps. This would undoubtedly kill them. He decisively stretched out his foot. The wet nurse really didn't see it. She tripped on the spot and toppled the cradle. "Ah, little master!" she cried out involuntarily. Zhao Yu raised the corners of his lips proudly. But just as he was about to watch the two children fall to their deaths, something unexpected happened. The moment the two children hit the ground, they disappeared with a whoosh. Zhao Yu looked as if he had seen a ghost. His soul flew out and he fell on his butt to the ground. In the eastern suburbs of the imperial city, in a deserted and abandoned alley, Liao Chen, who had been chased for 3 days and 3 nights, finally couldn't take it anymore. He stopped and decided to fight to the death with the other party. He was dressed in a gray monk's robe and stood against the wind under the moonlight. His wide sleeves and robe fluttered in the night wind. He was clearly a monk, but he had an excessively delicate face and a pair of seductive peach blossom eyes. It was as if he was drunk with the nectar of a peach forest. Whoever saw this face wouldn't say a word. Where did this evil monk come from? However, the mole under his right eye gave him a sense of loneliness and mystery. The corners of his lips curled up. He sneered and said, "Cow nose, I've tolerated you for a long time. You don't really think I can't beat you, do you?" Taoist Qing Feng was dressed in a blue Taoist robe. His black hair was tied up with a wooden hairpin. He had the air of an immortal. He said coldly, "I didn't ask you to be merciful." Liao Chen flicked his sleeves lightly and said with a smile, "I just stole your clothes and caused you to be watched by others under the moonlight. If worst comes to worst, I'll show you and you can come back." Taoist Qing Feng's eyes were cold. Shameless. He attacked Liao Chen with a killer move. Liao Chen narrowed his eyes. "Is this stupid cow nose for real?" "Cow nose has improved a lot this year." He tapped his toes and flew into the air. The monk's robe couldn't contain his inner strength. His powerful aura overflowed, almost forming a terrifying phoenix. "Cow nose, it's time for you to see how powerful I am. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Once the merciful palm is used, it won't stop until you die. Take this." As soon as he finished speaking, he charged toward Taoist Master Qing Feng. "Wah!" A small and childish voice suddenly sounded behind him. His body stiffened and his breath stagnated. With a scream, he fell from the sky. Along with him, there was also a little baby crying for milk. He reached out and caught him. Taoist Qing Feng wanted to take the opportunity to stomp him to death, but at the same time, another baby fell from the sky and hit Taoist Qing Feng. Saving people was an instinct, not to mention such a small child. Taoist Qing Feng caught the little guy in time. The two of them didn't understand what had happened. The next second, a small medicine box fell from the sky. No one caught it. It fell to the ground alone. A cold wind blew, and the medicine box was as quiet as a chicken. Taoist Qing Feng and Liao Chen looked at the baby in their arms and were both stunned. Digression: I woke up and saw so many monthly votes. Thank you, everyone. I'm the diligent Feng Fengzai. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found online. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896425080. HTML Genius. Memorize the website's address. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website. M. ZHHBQG. Come. Chapter 966. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with a deeper meaning that can't be found online are all available here. After a moment of shock, the two of them raised their heads at the same time. They first looked up at the sky, then looked around. Because Taoist Ching Feng had come here with the intention of killing Liao Chen, he didn't want to hurt the innocent. He had followed Liao Chen all the way out of the inner city and into this deserted area. It wasn't that there was no one within a 10-mile radius, but there were very few people here. Where did the child come from? Taoist Ching Feng asked in confusion. Liao Chen looked up at the bright moon. A trace of confusion flashed through his charming peach blossom eyes. He pointed at the boundless sky. It seems like it fell from the sky. How is that possible? Taoist Ching Feng said indifferently. No knife in the world could kill a child. He stood up with the child in his arms. What are you doing? Liao Chen asked him. He looked around cautiously. Someone must have been here just now. After saying this, he ignored Liao Chen and planned to look around with the child in his arms. However, he was stopped by Liao Chen. Bullnose. Liao Chen raised his eyebrows and glanced at the way he held the child. That's not how you hold a child. Taoist Ching Feng looked at the way he held the child. He really didn't understand what had gone wrong. Liao Chen complained, "Are you holding a book? Who holds a child with two arms?" Xiao Tsung's little face looked like it had nothing to live for. It seemed to be expressing its dissatisfaction. He looked like an immortal, but how could he be so bad at holding a child? Taoist Ching Feng refused to accept Xiao Tsung's look of disdain, but he still asked Liao Chen, "Then how should I hold it?" Liao Chen looked at him incredulously and sighed. "Taoist, oh Taoist, how did you grow up?" He was face-blind and had no sense of direction. He didn't even know how to hold a child. He clicked his tongue and stood up calmly in the face of Taoist Ching Feng's strong murderous aura. He demonstrated, "Look carefully. Such a small child should be held horizontally." His arms were long and his palms were big, so he could hold Xiao Yan firmly with just one hand. Xiao Yan lay in his arms, leaning against his firm and warm chest. Hearing the strong heartbeat that was similar to her father's, she felt a sense of security that she did not reject. "Wow." Xiao Yan smiled at Lai Chen. Liao Chen raised his eyebrows proudly. He looked at Xiao Yan and then at Taoist Ching Feng. "See? When you hug him comfortably, the child will smile at you." Taoist Ching Feng lacked experience in raising a child. He only managed to learn Dust's hug after observing for a while. Why isn't he smiling? Taoist Master Ching Feng frowned as he looked at the aloof Xiao Kong. "Maybe he doesn't like you?" Liao Chen said with a faint smile. It didn't matter whether he liked her or not, but this time, it was Liao Chen who said it. "Still want to fight?" Liao Chen asked with a smile. In terms of martial arts, Liao Chen and Marquis Xian Ping could compete. Taoist Master Ching Feng gave him a cold stare, then turned to look for the mysterious person who brought the children here. However, even after searching through the attachments, he still couldn't find a single unfamiliar figure. Liao Chen didn't waste his time. He sat in place and played with the little guy in his arms. The little guy laughed when he was teased. It was very interesting. He wasn't surprised to see Taoist Master Ching Feng come back empty-handed. If the children didn't fall from the sky and someone really did throw them to them, then no matter what the other party's purpose was, they couldn't find them when they came, so they couldn't find them when they left. Liao Chen looked at the small medicine box on the ground and said, "Instead of looking for someone, why don't you take a look at this box? It seems to have fallen with the children." Taoist Master Ching Feng knelt down on one knee. The moonlight at the end of the month was too dim, so he took out a lighter. Liao Chen watched him blow the lighter over the children's heads and frowned. "Hey, be careful. Don't burn the children." Taoist Master Ching Feng paused. Oh. He turned his head and blew the lighter in another direction. Xiao Tsung's little body was trembling. He also seemed to feel that this man was too dangerous. Forget it. Let me do it. Liao Chen stood up and walked over, taking the lighter from his hand. He had raised Jing Kong before. A Jing Kong was worth 10 children, so he was the father of 10 children. Holding the children and holding the lighter didn't conflict at all. Under the light of the fire, the two saw the appearance of the small medicine box. It's just an ordinary box, Taoist Master Ching Feng said. This wasn't like the secret room in the Grand Preceptor Hall, which was spotless. The small medicine box was smashed into the dust and became dirty. Liao Chen and Shi Yi didn't recognize it as Gu Jiao's box. Open it and see, Liao Chen said. Taoist Master Ching Feng opened the box with his other hand. Something incredible happened. It was like a fake box. He couldn't open it at all. Even if he used his internal energy, it was still the same. Liao Chen handed the lighter to Taoist Master Ching Feng. Take it. I'll try. Taoist Master Ching Feng expressed his dissatisfaction. Do you think you're better than me? Liao Chen chuckled. It's not what I think. It's the truth. Then Liao Chen was slapped in the face. Slap. He snorted. Stupid box. Taoist Master Ching Feng said, now we don't have a clue. Liao Chen carefully observed the faces of the two children and muttered, don't you think they look familiar? Huh? Taoist Master Ching Feng couldn't tell. Forget it. It's useless to ask you, Liao Chen said. Let's find an inn first. There are a lot of mosquitoes at night. If you don't rest, they'll need a quiet place to sleep. How about we report this to the authorities? Taoist Master Ching Feng suggested. Liao Chen sighed. The yamen is far from here. Besides, there's no one to take care of such young children. Taoist Master Ching Feng didn't speak. Liao Chen said, if you don't want to go to the inn, you can give the children to me. I can handle it alone. Taoist Master Ching Feng hit the nail on the head. You want to take the opportunity to slip away again. The last time he left him in Shangdu, he searched for him for months. Then he left him in Zhao Kingdom, and he searched for him for months again. He wouldn't fall for his trick this time. Liao Chen waved his hand. As you wish. Then he walked forward with Xiao Yan in his arms. As he walked, he lowered his head to tease Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan giggled at his teasing. Taoist Master Ching Feng frowned and looked down at the child in his arms. Why aren't you laughing? He asked in confusion. Take the box, he said, looking at Liao Chen's back. Maybe we'll find some new clues later. Liao Chen had no choice but to return and pick up the medicine box. They came to the main street. This was the outer city. Although it wasn't as prosperous as the inner city, it was still quite lively. A handsome monk and a sage-like Taoist priest were carrying a pair of children. They walked side by side in the endless stream of people, attracting the attention of countless people. The monk and the Taoist master were family? And they had 2 children. What kind of earth-shattering story was this? Liao Chen didn't care what others thought of him, but that person didn't. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been hunted down for years just because he was watched once. Liao Chen turned his head and glanced at the Taoist master who was pretending to be calm. He held back his laughter and entered an inn. He looked at the Taoist master who followed him. 2 rooms. Taoist Master Ching Feng said coldly, don't even think about it. Liao Chen said to the innkeeper, 1 room. The innkeeper stared blankly at the 2 and the children in their arms. After a while, he came back to his senses. Ah, the best room. We have it, we have it. He called a waiter and took the 2 to the best room in the sky room. After Liao Chen entered the room, he first put the dusty medicine box on the table. Then he gently placed the child in his arms on the soft bed. After that, he walked out of the door. Where are you going? Taoist Master Ching Feng asked coldly. Liao Chen turned his head and looked at the 2 children. I'm going to get them something to eat. Don't worry, I won't run away. Taoist Master Ching Feng said, You have a criminal record and don't have a good reputation. I don't trust you. Liao Chen said. Then why don't you go? Taoist Master Qing Feng said reasonably, if I leave, you'll still run away. Liao Chen put his hand to his forehead. Then what should I do? Taoist Master Qing Feng said seriously, give me your shadow token. Hiss. Liao Chen gasped. The shadow token was the most precious thing he had. He couldn't give it to others so easily. But if he didn't give it to him, this guy was too difficult to deal with. Fine, fine. Here you go. Liao Chen took out the shadow token and threw it to the man. The man caught it easily. Okay, you can go now. Liao Chen shook his head and went downstairs to the kitchen to find something to eat. The two children looked about 5 months old and could eat some fine rice paste. He went to the kitchen and had the kitchen cook 2 small bowls of rice paste. He also ordered a few delicate and delicious dishes and asked the waiter to send them to the best room. He carried the rice paste upstairs on a tray. When he reached the door, he bumped into Shen Yuanqi, who was coming from the end of the corridor. The father and son were both shocked. Father. Shen Yuanqi was out of the city on business. He had just secretly met with an important person in the inn. He didn't expect to see his son here, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. Why are you here? He asked strangely. His eyes fell on the tray. What is it? Before Liao Chen could answer, the waiter came with a bucket of hot water. He said to Liao Chen, Sir, the hot water you and the other guest asked for, should I send it to your room now? Shen Yuanqi's body shook. You got a room with someone? Liao Chen slapped his forehead. Don't misunderstand. It's a Taoist priest. Shen Yuanqi shook again. You got a room with a Taoist priest? Liao Chen motioned for him to look at the 2 bowls of rice paste on his tray. He said helplessly, It's because of the children. Shen Yuanqi shuddered. You guys even have a child? Father. Liao Chen was speechless. It's not what you think. As soon as he said that, Taoist Qing Feng walked out with the shadow token. Shen Yuanqi didn't look at his face, but he saw the token first. He instantly felt like he was struck by lightning. He roared, You gave the family heirloom to him? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/8964286/1044093993. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 967. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. All the novels that can't be found online are available here. Shen Yuanqi was so shocked that he couldn't even speak properly. As the symbol of the Lord of Shadows, the shadow token had always been more precious than life. With the shadow token, the shadow division could continue to be passed down. This was also why when Shen Yuanqi was chased by Shitian, he must pass the shadow token to Shen Yuanzheng, who was only 8 years old. In Shen Yuanqi's heart, what was it if not a family heirloom? Such a precious thing could never be taken away from him. Taoist Qing Feng also saw its importance, so he asked Liao Chen to keep it with him. He didn't know what had happened, but he heard that Liao Chen seemed to be in trouble, so he came out to take a look. He must kill Liao Chen, but others couldn't touch him. He wanted him to die in his own hands. Then he saw Shen Yuanqi. Shen Yuanqi had already seen the shadow token. He was shocked, very shocked. He also wanted to know who was so powerful that he could steal his son's soul. He looked up. Oh, it's a male Taoist. Taoist Qing Feng? They fought together at the border. Although they weren't familiar with each other, they had at least met several times. How could he not know Taoist Qing Feng, who was brave and good at fighting and fought side by side with his son? He had also sighed with Shangguan Yen that the younger generation would surpass them in time. His heart seemed to have been shocked by 100,000 volts of electricity, and he couldn't live anymore. He looked at his unfilial son bitterly and said, "Is this the reason why you said you wanted Jing Kong to carry on the family line?" Liao Chen was dumbfounded. "Father, I've told you so much. Why do you only remember this one sentence?" "I said I don't want to get married. I want to be free and unfettered. I want to be a monk who can travel anywhere in the world." Sigh. He couldn't clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Shenyuan Qi looked at Taoist Qing Feng with a complicated expression. "When did you two get together?" Taoist Qing Feng only heard the part about the family heirloom. He thought for a while and said honestly, "He has been hiding from me, so I found him. In order to prevent him from escaping, I asked him to leave the shadow token with me. Since it's a family heirloom, I'll return it to the Grand Marshal." Shenyuan Qi was not in a hurry to take the shadow token back. Instead, he turned his head and glared at his son. He gritted his teeth and whispered, "You're still hiding from her? Scumbag." Taoist Qing Feng didn't understand the misunderstanding between the father and son. He said seriously, "Grand Marshal, I have a personal grudge against him. Since you saw it today, I might as well tell you the truth. His life is mine." Shenyuan Qi was dumbfounded. Was his daughter-in-law's love so deep that she hated him so much? No, no, no. What daughter-in-law? He was a man. Taoist Qing Feng continued, "I chased him from the Yen Kingdom to the Zhao Kingdom, then from the Zhao Kingdom to here. It took me a lot of effort to catch him. Even if the Grand Marshal tried to stop me, I could only offend him. He chased them all the way to Zhao country. Could it be that the daughter-in-law that Qing mentioned was really Qing Feng Taoist? Was it really done?" Shenyuan Qi felt as if his chest had been pierced by 10,000 arrows. He staggered and nearly fell to the ground. Just as he didn't know what he should do with this young couple, Xiao Yan began to cry inside the room. "You adults are so slow. This baby is hungry." Hearing the child's cries, Shenyuan Qi remembered that his son had said that they had a child. He trembled and looked at the two people at the door. With an indescribable expression, he asked, "You two, who exactly gave birth to it?" Liao Chen, Taoist Qing Feng, Shenyuan Qi had followed the Master of Shadows for many years. He was more familiar with the medicine box than Liao Chen. Thus, he recognized it at a glance. He then looked at the boy phoenix twins of little Jiao Jiao and little Aheng. He more or less understood their identities. Hearing that they had descended from the sky together with a box, he became even more certain of his guess. He said to the two, "I will bring the child back. This matter, rot in your stomachs. You are not allowed to ask about anything else." "I have no objections," Liao Chen said and glanced at Taoist Qing Feng. Taoist Qing Feng said, "We will obey the Grand Marshal's orders." Shenyuan Qi had someone hire a carriage. Holding the boy phoenix twins, he sat in the carriage and brought the medicine box along. "I'm leaving," he said. Liao Chen took this opportunity to slip away. "Father, I will go back with you." Shenyuan Qi kicked his son off the carriage, and then he left in the carriage. Liao Chen, who was forced to stay in Taoist Qing Feng's hands. After the twins disappeared into thin air, the palace maids immediately reported to Wu Cixi. Wu Cixi went to the scene and interrogated everyone in the pavilion. Then, he rushed to the Grand Preceptor's hall without stopping. But because the medicine box was not there, the path to the operating room was closed. Yi Qing opened the door and saw an empty secret room. After Gu Jiaojiao returned to the imperial palace, she heard the news and immediately came to Imperial Tutor's Hall. Since the medicine box was not there, the boy phoenix twins should have been teleported somewhere. "Where did they go?" Yi Qing asked. Gu Jiaojiao analyzed. From the current situation I know, the medicine box usually only teleports to nearby coordinates. There are 2 fixed coordinates. One is the operating room of Imperial Tutors Hall, and the other should be Dark Knight Island. There are also 2 moving coordinates. One is me, the other is the former godfather, and now there may be Boy Phoenix twins. Yi Qing thoughtfully said, in other words, it will either teleport to your side or go to Dark Knight Island. Gu Jiaojiao thought, no. It was known that the medicine box needed energy to tear space, so there was another possibility. It didn't have enough energy and randomly dropped halfway. Yi Qing heard her thoughts. When Gu Jiaojiao and Yi Qing planned to take the people of Imperial Tutors Hall to find the Boy Phoenix twins, Shen Yuanqi rushed over with 1 baby in each hand. Seeing that the 2 little fellows were safe and sound, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Grand Marshal. Yi Qing and Shen Yuanqi greeted. Shen Yuanqi nodded. State Preceptor Yi. Yi Qing, give me one of the children. Shen Yuanqi, I won't give it to you, come and grab it. Gu Jiaojiao took the small gray medicine box from the coachman. Wu Xixi had already found out that it was Zhao Yu who had evil intentions and wanted to harm the Boy Phoenix twins. For the sake of saving the Boy Phoenix twins once, Gu Jiaojiao suppressed the impulse to chop it into firewood. Gu Jiaojiao took the small medicine box to the secret room. After connecting it to the operating room, several people went in to visit Shangguan Yen. Shangguan Yen fell asleep. Xiao Heng got up and looked at everyone. He bowed to Shen Yuanqi. Granduncle is also here. And Shen Yuanqi nodded, holding the Boy Phoenix twins in his arms. Even their father won't give it to them. Alas, I can't grab it, I can't grab it. Xiao Hang asked Gu Jiaojiao and Yi Qing, what happened just now? The door of the operating room suddenly couldn't be pushed open. If the door couldn't be pushed open, it meant that the passage was closed. This was the case when Gu Chongqing was hiding here to recuperate. Gu Jiaojiao told Xiao Hang about the Boy Phoenix twins' half-day tour in the capital, and Shen Yuanqi added the information of the 2 on the road in time. Only then did they know that the Boy Phoenix twins fell into the hands of Liaochen and Qing Feng Taoist. Gu Jiaojiao curled her lips and murmured, you really know how to pick people. When the energy was exhausted, he located a familiar scent nearby. Did he become a spirit? The Boy Phoenix twins were safe and sound because they were lucky. If they were ordinary children, they would have been killed by Zhao Yu. Thinking of this, Xiao Heng's eyes became cold. Mother was worried that there was no chance to touch the Dong family. Zhao Yu came to the door and really handed a good knife. That night, Xiao Hang personally went to the dungeon of the palace to interrogate Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu couldn't withstand the torture at all. As soon as he was beaten, he confessed and cried loudly that he was instigated by the Dong family. Conspiring to murder the royal family and conspiring to rebel was punishable by beheading, not to mention that the target was the most beloved grandson of Her Majesty the Empress. I'm innocent, Your Majesty. Master Dong knelt in the majestic and solemn throne room, full of grievances and crying bitterly. Shangguan Yen said with a strong aura, take Zhao Yu to the throne room. Zhao Yu was escorted by the imperial guards and pointed at Master Dong. Master Dong, why do you still refuse to admit it? At that time, it was you who wanted me to enter the palace, to wait for an opportunity to murder His Majesty. Because I wasn't favored and couldn't get close to His Majesty, you set your sights on the young royal princess and the young royal prince. You said, to kill them, to make His Majesty panic, and then you thought of a way to poison His Majesty, to make it look like His Majesty was depressed and had died without any illness. Master Dong said angrily, nonsense. Zhao Yu said angrily, you know very well whether I'm talking nonsense or not. You blackmailed me with my family. Let me lay my hands on 2 babies in swaddling clothes. Master Dong, you're so vicious. You. Master Dong was so angry that he stood up and rushed to Zhao Yu. He pulled out the sword of the Imperial Guard beside him. Shen Yuanqi sent him flying with a palm strike. He didn't even have the strength to fight back and fell heavily on the cold floor, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Shangguan Yen punched the armrest of the dragon throne and said coldly, "Drawing the sword in the throne room is an additional crime. Guards, drag him away for Zhen. Wait for his punishment." Master Dong was not a kind person. When he was looking for the young commandery princess in the forest, he killed the young commandery princess and Gu Jiao. Shangguan Yen had long wanted to take his life. The imperial guards mercilessly dragged Master Dong, whose dantian was shattered by Shenyuan Qi. Behind him, he left behind a shocking trail of blood. In the imperial court, the officials kept quiet out of fear. They understood that the days of the Dong family were over. If the destruction of the Han family and the Nangong family was due to rebellion, then the end of the Dong family was the first guillotine that Her Majesty the Empress took the initiative to drop on the major families. Her Majesty the Empress's crackdown on the aristocratic families had officially begun. After the imperial court, Shenyuan Qi stopped Shangguan Yen. "Your Majesty." "Uncle, what's the matter?" Shangguan Yan's tone was less fierce in the imperial court and more intimate as a junior. Shenyuan Qi looked at her solemnly. "Has the action against the aristocratic families begun?" Shangguan Yen nodded. When the Shenyuan family was harmed, none of the 10 major families were clean. Shenyuan Qi said, "The foundation of the country can't be shaken." Shangguan Yen said, "I understand, I won't be ruthless. Some families will make up for their mistakes. I will deal with them according to their merits. For example, the Su family. Originally, she wanted to uproot it, but Mu Qingchen was loyal to the country and had made great contributions at the border. For his sake, she would keep the Su family, but the condition was that the power of the Su family must be handed over to Mu Qingchen. In addition, there was the Wang family. Wang Su was loyal and was also a useful person. Shenyuan Qi hesitated. "That," Shangguan Yen smiled. "Uncle, if you have something to say, just say it." "Feng family." Shenyuan Qi said, "Can you save the Feng family?" "Feng family." Shangguan Yen nodded thoughtfully. "Feng Wuming also made a lot of contributions in the war with Jin country. I will remember these contributions to the Feng family." The elders of the Feng family had passed away, leaving only 2 sons. When the Shenyuan family was in trouble, the 2 sons were still young and didn't participate in the crimes of their fathers. She said, "I won't touch Feng Wuming and Feng Wuxiu, but the Feng family's property. I will take it back." "After you take it back?" Shenyuan Qi asked. "Return it to uncle." Shangguan Yen said matter-of-factly. The things that were divided from the Shenyuan family naturally had to be returned to the original owner. Shenyuan Qi calmly said, "Oh, then no need." Shangguan Yen looked at her uncle strangely. "What do you mean, no need?" Shenyuan Qi explained, "You return it to me, and I still have to send it over." Shangguan Yen was confused. "What do you mean send it back and forth?" Why was she getting more and more confused? Shenyuan Qi straightened his back and proudly said, "Betrothal gift." Shangguan Yen. Digression. I ate 8 creamy yellow quicksand Xiaolong Bao in the morning, and I'm already on the road to getting fat in the autumn. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/1044033624. HTML Genius remembers this site's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile version reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 968. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. The twins were frightened when they left the palace. Shangguan Yen let the young couple stay in the palace and don't walk around. They should accompany the children in peace. In the cradle of Fenglin Palace, Gu Jiao looked at the pair of little guys who were more excited than birds. She deeply wondered where she could see that they were frightened. He was clearly acting as if nothing had happened. "All right? I'm going to the barracks," Gu Jiao said. The two little guys pouted for a second. "Don't cry," Gu Jiao said lightly. The two little guys felt wronged and held back their cries. Wu Cixi, who was waiting on the side, was distressed. The little master was only 5 months old. Did the mother have to be so cruel? Didn't she see that the two of them were still in shock and needed their mother's comfort? It would be strange if they needed it. They were just pretending to be pitiful. How could Gu Jiao not understand her own flesh and blood? It seems that in these 2 months, the two little guys learned a lot of tricks from the palace. Gu Jiao decisively went to the Black Wind Camp. When Gu Jiao returned to Zhao country to get married, the Black Wind Camp was accompanied by 5,000 soldiers. Wan Renchong and Zhao Dengfeng were there. They were the first to know that Gu Jiao was a girl. They also saw Gu Jiao's real face. But the rest of the people didn't see it. Among them was Li Shen. When Li Shan returned after winning the war, he immediately went to see his old mother. Later, when Gu Jiao returned to Zhao country, he was also qualified to accompany her. But in order to take care of his mother, he stayed in Chengdu. Gu Jiao had just arrived at the entrance of the barracks when Li Shan came out on horseback. Gu Jiao was dressed as a woman today. She was wearing a long blue dress with a simple spiral hairstyle. The hairband and sleeves danced in the wind in the morning light. Her temperament was cold and unworldly. The barracks was not a place where women could come. Even if they came, they must dismount. Just as Li Shan was about to sternly stop the other party, he unexpectedly saw the other party's face. That was an indescribable beauty. It carried the spirit of a young lady, but it didn't lose the heroic spirit of a youth. It was a beauty that stood out from the masses. Li Shen, who had never judged a book by its cover, suddenly stuttered. The soldiers guarding the camp were also shocked. Which family did she come from? Did a celestial being descend to the mortal world? How did he end up in their barracks? Li Shen. Gu Jiao greeted him from the back of Black Wind King's horse. You know me? Li Shen had never heard Gu Jiao's feminine voice before. He stared at Gu Jiao in a daze. It was rude of him to stare at a woman's face like that, but his woman's beauty was so stunning that he had forgotten his manners. Gu Jiao reverted to his youthful voice. "It's me." Li Shan's body trembled and he fell from the horse's back. He fell flat on his face. For such a fairy-like girl to suddenly have a youthful voice, it was really frightening, all right? However, why did that voice sound so familiar? He quickly raised his head and looked towards Gu Jiao's direction. This time, he wasn't looking at Gu Jiao's face, but Gu Jiao's horse. Black Wind King. His expression changed and his gaze moved up again, landing on that flawless face. "You are the young commander?" The guards at the entrance were all shocked. This fairy-like girl was the young commander of their Black Wind camp who killed enemies like flies. The news that the young commander was a girl had already spread throughout the camp. It was said that the birthmark on her face had also been cured. But when they saw it with their own eyes, it was still too shocking. The ugly and cute young commander, how did she suddenly turn into a fairy-like girl? Gu Jiao's arrival caused a stir in the Black Wind camp. Not to mention the people who were shocked, even the horses ran over to look at Gu Jiao. Then Gu Jiao found that the camp was much quieter today. Everyone didn't walk so boldly, and their voices weren't so loud. It rained last night, so it wasn't hot this morning, but everyone's cheeks were red. Gu Jiao sat on the horse and tilted her head. Oh. Gu Jiao came to the camp for 2 reasons. 1. To see the soldiers who had risked their lives with her. 2. To prepare for the upcoming attack on the Tang sect. Then, something strange happened. She only needed 3,000 people, and she only asked the commanders to pick 3,000 people. But when she came out of her tent, she was surprised to find that all 50,000 people were on the training field. "What are you doing?" she asked in confusion. The new commander of the left, Zhao Dengfeng, coughed and said, "The 3rd Battalion of the charge requests to go to war." Wan Rincheng, who was also promoted, calmed down and said seriously, "The 2nd Battalion of the vanguard requests to go to war." It was just to attack a hidden sect. Wasn't 50,000 people too much? Gu Jiao blinked and asked, "You all want to attack the Tang sect?" "Yes." Everyone straightened their backs and said in unison. Their morale was shocking. Gu Jiao said, "Okay, since you all want to go, then go. You can also suppress the bandits along the way. I heard that bandits are rampant in that area. It's good to do something for the people." Cheng Fugue was promoted. He was the Huwei general of the Black Wind camp. He had the highest rank under Gu Jiao and Shenyuan Qi. He asked righteously, "Young commander, when are we leaving?" Gu Jiao said, "We have to ask the Grand Marshal about the exact time." Cheng Fugue was stunned. "Why do we have to ask the Grand Marshal? Young commander, aren't you going?" Gu Jiao said seriously, "I'm not going. I have something else to do. I have to go to the Dark Knight Island. I wanted to pick a cavalry to go with me, but since you all want to suppress the bandits, I'll go to the Dark Shadow tribe to get some soldiers." Cheng Fugue stuttered. After all this time, they were not going to go with the young commander? But what was so good about the Grand Marshal? The young commander's Jiao Jiao was so soft and cute. The 50,000 people were crying in their hearts. They were so regretful that their intestines were turning green. Gu Jiao and Xiao Heng stayed in Chengdu for a month. During this time, they visited all the teachers and friends they knew in Chengdu, including the dean of Qianqiong Academy and Wu Fuzi, as well as their former classmates and teammates. No one could believe that Xiao Lulang, who was braver than boys, was actually a girl. She was also so beautiful. "You drew the birthmark on your face on purpose, didn't you? To pretend to be a man?" In the pavilion of the academy, Mu Chuan looked at Gu Jiao's face and asked. Opposite Gu Jiao sat Yuan Shao and Zhao Wei. Apart from Mu Qingchen, the other members of the 5-man team were all here. Gu Jiao smiled. "If you say so." She couldn't tell him that it was Chastity Sand. Yuan Shao and Zhao Wei were a little embarrassed. Not for anything else, but because they had once asked Lu Lang to take them to the brothel. Now that they thought about it, they were really bastards. Ahem. To ease the awkwardness, Zhao Wei started a new topic. "I heard that Zhong Ding went back to Zhao State and Zhou Tong transferred schools. After you left the academy, young Master Qingchen stopped coming to class. My 4th brother went to war. Isn't that right, Lu Lang?" Mu Chuan smiled at Gu Jiao. He was still used to calling Gu Jiao Xiao Lulang. Gu Jiao didn't mind being called that. She nodded. "Yes, we stayed at the border for a long time. But he didn't come to class after the war," Zhao Wei sighed. Zhao Wei sighed. "I occasionally passed by the Clear Heart Hall, and I saw that the seats you two sat in were still empty. Your classmates in the Clear Heart Hall have reserved seats for you too. But you two won't go back to class in the future, right?" They couldn't help but feel a sense of melancholy in their hearts. Yuan Shao sighed. "It seems like only yesterday that we attacked Ju Sai. Do you still remember those Shaolin monks? Did they break Mu Chuan's arm?" Fortunately, Lu Lang was there. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter if we won or lost. In fact, we should have known that Lu Lang wasn't a mediocre person. Mu Chuan suddenly laughed. Lu Lang went easy on Canaan Academy just to get the 10,000 taels of gold for the 2nd place. Later, when Lu Lang wasn't there, our academy got the 2nd place as scheduled. Unfortunately, I was meddlesome and went to the students of Canaan Academy to exchange for the reward of entering the palace to meet the emperor. Zhao Wei looked at him in disdain. "So you knew that Lu Lang wanted the gold?" Mu Chuan said helplessly, "I found out later." Yuan Shao corrected him. "It's not 10,000 taels, it's 1,000 taels. When did the wrong thing start? Everyone thought that the prize was 10,000 taels of gold. Gu Jiao crossed her arms and looked at Mu Chuan with a dark expression. I still want to beat you up. Mu Chuan was speechless. Here's the wine. Here's the wine. Wu Fuzi carried 2 large jars of fine wine and walked over as if he was flying. He pushed Yuan Shao aside and sat down next to Gu Jiao. He smiled and said to the few of them, I've treasured Nu Erhong for 20 years. I didn't even bear to take it out when my daughter got married. Today, we'll drink until we're drunk. Are you sure you don't want to drink? Tianqiong Academy's headmaster Tsen asked Mu Qingchen beside a rockery near the pavilion. The people in the pavilion were drinking and chatting merrily. Mu Qingchen looked at them quietly and said calmly, No. Since he missed the opportunity, he shouldn't disturb her any more. Mu Chuan was drunk and occupied a large jar of wine by himself. He was afraid that someone would chase after him, so he walked around in circles in the pavilion. As he walked, he said drunkenly, Lu Lang, do you know? My sister. Sister Su Shui. Third Miss Su. She's married. She thinks you're a man. She said she won't marry anyone but you. But my 4th brother also likes you. You're a man. How did both of them fall for you at the same time? Ah, no. You're a woman. Su Shui found out. She cried so hard. She got married after crying. Are you done drinking? Don't take the jar away. Zhao Wei, who was also very drunk, chased after Mu Chuan. Mu Chuan stuck his tongue out at him. I'm not giving it to you. I won't give it to you. Come and take it if you can. The few of them were drunk to the point where they could barely stand. Wu Fuzi was lying on the ground with Yuan Zhao's head resting on his stomach. Gu Jiao was already at her limit. She was sleeping soundly on the table with her face red. Headmaster Tsen had already left. Mu Qingchen stood alone under the moonlight. His eyes never left Gu Jiao. Seeing that Mu Chuan was about to pull Gu Jiao up and ask her to continue drinking, Mu Qingchen finally couldn't hold it in anymore. He clenched his fists and walked out from behind the rockery with a complicated expression. He then walked toward the pavilion. Unexpectedly, he had only taken a few steps when a white figure walked toward him from another direction. The person walked up to the pavilion and stopped Mu Chuan from urging him to drink. Mu Chuan fell back and fell asleep with the jar in his arms. He bent down and whispered in Gu Jiao's ear, Jiao Jiao. Oh. Gu Jiao opened her eyes in a daze. She first opened her left eye, then opened her right eye, and a jade-like handsome face came into view. She smiled. Aheng. Let's go home, Xiaoheng said softly. Hug me, Gu Jiao said drunkenly. Okay. Xiaoheng stretched out his slender and strong arms, gently wrapped them around her back and legs, and gently carried her up. Gu Jiao leaned against his firm chest, quiet like an obedient kitten. Mu Qingchen clenched his fists. On the ground, Mu Chuan mumbled, Lu Lang, this may be the last time I drink with you. Mu family. The Mu family was going to fall. He would no longer be the noble son of Shang capital. Thinking back, she was a nameless student from a lower country. Everyone looked down on her, and he was the high and mighty disciple of the Mu family. Everyone wanted to curry favor with him. In just 2 years, he was about to become a prisoner, and she became the noble commander and princess. He looked at the bright moon in the sky and laughed until tears came out. Life is really unpredictable. In the future, we can't be friends. Xiaoheng stopped and looked down at Gu Jiao, who had fallen asleep in his arms and didn't hear what Mu Chuan said at all. He stepped into the night without looking back. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are available here. https://www.zhhbqg com/89642-82642-826/10438945. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 969. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated more quickly. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet can be found here. On the third day after Gu Jiao, Mu Chuan and the others drank, the eldest son of the Mu family resigned. It was said that his subordinates caused a murder case. He didn't manage well and didn't have the face to remain as an official, so he begged His Majesty to approve. Shangguan Yen approved. In addition, there was a flood in the south. The Mu family donated 5 million taels of silver to relieve the victims. This was equivalent to emptying the family's property. The Mu family didn't have so much cash on hand, so they could only use the fields, shops, and the family's major industries as compensation. The donation sounded good, but in fact, it was no different from confiscating the family's property. Mu Chuan sat in his room, while the guards came and went to move the valuables in the room. "Hey! You can't move this." His servant stopped a guard and looked at the enamel vase in his hand, saying, "This is young master's birthday gift. Young master likes to use it to raise small fishes." That was a childhood memory. Mu Chuan was naughty and couldn't stay idle at home. If he didn't knock over the vase, he would break the porcelain. Later, old Master Mu got an expensive enamel vase from somewhere. Originally, he wanted to arrange flowers, but Mu Chuan had a bright idea and caught 2 small fishes to raise. "Let them take it away," Mu Chuan said faintly. "But young master..." The servant couldn't bear it and said, "They've emptied the room. At least leave a vase for you as a memento," Mu Chuan whispered. "No need, I don't want to miss it. It's fine as it is." The guards took the vase away, and Mu Chuan's golden-laid jade belt was also taken away from the wardrobe, leaving only some worthless clothes. "Young master..." The servant choked and looked at Mu Chuan. Mu Chuan was originally the most impatient person, but when such a thing happened, he was calmer than anyone else in the family. He slowly stood up and walked out of the house that he had lived in for 20 years expressionlessly. When he crossed the threshold, he looked back and took one last look, making a silent farewell. What the Mu clan had done to the Shenyuan clan back then wasn't any lesser than what the Han clan and Nangong clan had done to the Shenyuan clan. It was just that the Mu clan didn't plot against them on the battlefield. However, when it came to hitting the Shenyuan clan while they were down and framing them, the Mu clan didn't show any mercy. Shangguan Yen will not be lenient to the Mu family. The entire Mu family sat in a tattered carriage and silently left the inner city one morning before the sun had even risen. The servants in the house were dismissed, leaving only a few old servants and children who were unwilling to leave. More than 30 people moved to an old house in the outer city. This was Matriarch Mu's dowry back then, and it was the only asset that had not been handed over. They were used to living a life of luxury. Now that they were reduced to commoners, their family members cried bitterly. Matriarch Mu fell ill on a stormy night. Mu Chuan braved the heavy rain and went around seeking medical attention. However, when they heard that it was to treat the Mu family, no doctor dared to come. Everyone knew how the Mu clan exposed the Shenyuan clan in the past. Now that the Shenyuan clan's grievances were cleared and the Empress ascended the throne, the Mu clan's power was gone. If anyone dared to help the Mu clan, they would be going against the Empress and the Shenyuan clan. On a rainy night, Mu Chuan finally felt the despair of having his entire family confiscated and exterminated. He dragged his tired body and staggered back to the old house like a walking corpse. As soon as he reached the door, he heard a familiar call behind him. "Mu Chuan." He turned around. The heavy rain drenched his eyes and blurred his vision. But he still clearly saw Gu Jiao, who was wearing a long green dress, holding an oil paper umbrella and carrying a small medicine box, slowly walking towards him. The heavy rain was cold. When it fell into his eyes, it became boiling hot when it flowed out. His throat swelled painfully. Gu Jiao treated Matriarch Mu's illness and left enough medicine. She also told Matriarch Mu to rest well and not to work hard in the near future. After she left, Matriarch Mu handed a brocade box to Mu Chuan. "The second princess consort asked me to pass this to you." Mu Chuan was stunned. "She told you her identity?" Matriarch Mu smiled weakly. "Yes, I didn't expect her to be the brave and skilled commander of the Black Wind Battalion. She's not inferior to a man." Matriarch Mu was a smart person. She said emotionally, "She's not only the second princess consort, but also the commander of the Black Wind Cavalry. She came to our house openly to tell the world that the Empress and the Shenyuan clan didn't exterminate the Mu clan. In the future, those people will have to think twice before giving us a hard time." Mu Chuan nodded and opened the brocade box with trembling hands. Inside was a stack of banknotes, a recommendation letter from the State Preceptor Hall, and a note left by Gu Jiao. "Mu Chuan, don't give up." Tears welled up in Mu Chuan's eyes. Gu Jiao also went to the Go Club when she was in Chengdu. Unfortunately, the Go Sage of the Six Kingdoms, Mr. Meng, had been staying in his hometown since he went back to Zhao Kingdom to mediate the peace. He hadn't come to Yen Kingdom yet. Gu Jiao guessed that Mr. Meng might have pretended to be a beggar and went to other countries to search for Go talents. As long as Mr. Meng was happy, he didn't have to stay at home to enjoy his old age. At the beginning of August, Gu Jiao and Xiao Hang set off for Dark Knight Island. The twins stayed in the palace, and little Jing Kong also stayed in Chengdu. Shenyuan Qi hoped to spend more time with him. Dark Knight Island rarely interacted with the outside world. It was inconvenient for Gu Jiao to bring too many people with her. She only brought Liaochen and a few masters of the Shadow Division. "How can this number of people be enough?" Shangguan Yen said, "I'll send you another team." She sent Feng Wuxiu, the head of the Feng family. Outside the palace, Feng Wuxiu was holding a bag of fried fruits. He gnawed on one and handed the rest to Gu Jiao. "Do you want to eat?" Gu Jiao, his younger brother, was going to Dark Knight Island. Qing Feng was worried about his brother's safety, so he could only follow him secretly. Liaochen, who thought that he could escape from someone's pursuit by going to Dark Knight Island, suffered another tragedy. This time, they were not marching to war, so they didn't need to hurry day and night. It took them 1.5 months to reach Pu City. They settled down in Pu City for 2 nights and caught up with General Chong Wei. They temporarily left Black Wind King under General Chong Wei's care. On the morning of the 3rd day, they set off from Pu City again. 3 days later, they left the northernmost border of the Yen Kingdom and set foot on the ice field to Dark Knight Island. "Chongjing, where did you leave the direwolf?" Gu Jiao rummaged in her purse for the map. "I lost the map." "It doesn't matter, I know where it is," Xiao Heng said. "How do you know?" Gu Jiao asked. "I saw the map," Xiao Heng said. Gu Jiao nodded. "Oh, then you lead the way. Qing Feng, come with us." The 3 of them went to look for the snow car and direwolf on Dark Knight Island. Feng Wuxiu was wrapped in thick fur and squatted in front of an ice cave. He looked down at the flowing ice water and swallowed hard. Liaochen looked at him with a faint smile. "What are you looking at?" Feng Wuxiu said greedily, "There are so many fish down there. I wonder if they taste good." The direwolf on Dark Knight Island was bred on the ice field. Because of their training, they wouldn't wander too far unless they were hunting. They would quickly rush over when they heard the familiar whistle. Gu Jiao took out the whistle that Chongjing gave her and blew it. She blinked. "Huh?" No response. The decibel of the whistle was beyond the limits of human ears. Only wolves could hear it. If the whistle was broken, humans wouldn't be able to detect it. Gu Jiao blew it again. This time, there was still no response. "Let me try," Xiao Heng said. Gu Jiao handed him the whistle. Xiao Heng blew it rhythmically. Soon, a direwolf appeared. Soon after, 2, 3 more and more ice-field wolves charged towards Xiao Heng's direction. The cold wind whistled. He stood on the vast ice field, as if he had become one with it. His eyes were cold, and there was a strange yet powerful aura around him. Gu Jiao tilted her head and looked at him. Oh, her husband was so handsome. Today was another day where her husband was so handsome. There were 21 direwolves in total, and one of them was a little wolf king. The little wolf king was very fierce, especially to strangers who didn't have the aura of Dark Knight Island. It bared its teeth and began to show its aggressiveness. Xiao Heng didn't show any fear. He walked forward boldly and knelt down on one knee. He raised his slender hand and gently pressed on the little wolf king's head. A miracle happened. The little wolf king's fierceness was instantly restrained. Gu Jiao was surprised. You know how to tame wolves? Xiao Heng said, Chong Jing taught me. The little wolf king took the lead to dig a hole and dug out a bunker. It rushed in with the direwolves and dragged the sleigh out. Gu Jiao's eyes lit up. Isn't this a sleigh? Godfather must have taught the people of Dark Knight Island to do this. Xiao Heng's face darkened at the mention of Godfather. It was that man again. When the three of them returned to their original place in the sleigh, Liao Chen and Feng Wuxiu were sitting cross-legged in the snow, roasting fish. Feng Wuxiu grabbed a fish skewered on a stick, blew on it, and took a bite. He said to Liao Chen, Brother, it's delicious. Taoist Qing Feng's eyes turned cold. Who are you calling brother? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1043854885. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 970. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are available here. At the end of August, the ice field had just passed the hottest season of the year. In some places, the ice was not very thick, so the dire wolf had to be very careful. The little wolf king leading the pack looked young, but it had a talent that was different from normal wolves. It was very sensitive to danger. Whenever the ice under its feet began to thin, it could sense it and react in time, either changing its path or slowing down. Liao Chen and Xiao Heng took turns driving the sled from the back, giving orders to the direwolf and controlling the sled to maintain stability. Gu Jiao and Taoist Qing Feng also tried to drive the sled. Gu Jiao was too fast, and the sled was almost flying, so the four of them voted to stop. Taoist Qing Feng had no sense of direction. They took a nap on the sled, and when they woke up, they found that Taoist Qing Feng had brought everyone back to the border of the Yen Kingdom with the direwolf. Feng Wuxiu was dizzy from riding the sled. He vomited while sitting, not to mention standing up to drive the sled. At the end of August, the ice field welcomed the first snowstorm of the year. They couldn't find a place to hide from the snow, so they could only move forward with difficulty. The snowstorm at this time was not considered heavy for the entire frozen season, but even so, everyone felt the difficulty of moving forward. Xiao Heng and Gu Jiao both thought of Marquis Xianping. It was only a small snowstorm in August, and they had the help of the direwolf, but it was still so difficult to move forward. They couldn't imagine what kind of extreme weather Marquis Xianping had been in to bring the purple grass and fruits out of the ice field. Near evening, the snowstorm finally stopped. The group was almost frozen into ice sculptures on the sled, and the direwolf was so tired that it lay down, unable to move forward. Are you okay? Xiao Hung asked Gu Jiao, who was in his arms. Yes, I'm okay. As soon as Gu Jiao spoke, she realized that she could no longer open her mouth. She could only numbly speak. Feng Wuxiu was also protected in his brother's arms. It was a little cold, but fortunately, he didn't freeze to death. It was Mei Chen who drove the sleigh. He stood at the end of the sleigh, his entire body wrapped in thick leather. He wore a leather hat on his head that covered his ears. His long eyelashes were covered with frost, and the snow on his cheeks did not melt, almost forming a cold mask. Hey! His lips had long been frozen and could not move. He could only rely on his mouth to make vague sounds. Ox enemy, nose. Geiga, hand. He was wearing gloves, but the gloves were completely frozen on the reins, and his fingers were completely stiff. Taoist Qing Feng wanted to kill him, but now was not the time to do so. He moved his stiff body and walked over to use the dagger to pry open the ice on his gloves. Then, he slowly injected a bit of inner strength into his fingers to warm them up. Just now, he had used this method to help Feng Wuxiu resist the cold. On the other side, Gu Jiao and Xiao Hang took firewood from the sled and started a bonfire in the snow. There's fire, there's fire. Feng Wuxiu hurried over, squatted down, and stretched out his hands to warm the fire. Xiao Hang went to get some dry food. Gu Jiao skewered the dry food with skewers and roasted it over the fire. Xiao Hang took out the ice fish that he had caught along the way to feed the direwolf. Gu Jiao sat in front of the fire and turned her head to look at him. I don't see you feeding the chickens, dogs, birds, and horses at home. You're quite diligent in feeding the wolves. Achoo! Feng Wuxiu sneezed loudly. Gu Jiao reached out and touched his forehead. I'm fine. My nose is just itchy. Is it here? He sniffed and sniffed around. As he sniffed, he moved closer to Gu Jiao. What? Gu Jiao looked at him strangely. Feng Wuxiu asked, Did you hide something to eat? I didn't, Gu Jiao said seriously. Spicy. He turned his head and sneezed again. When I smell spicy, I sneeze. Achoo! Achoo! Gu Jiao lowered her head and saw that the small meat shop in her purse was indeed exposed. Under Feng Wuxiu's stunned gaze, she hid the meat paste back without changing her expression. Just eating these isn't enough. Liao Chen glanced at the dry, steamed buns on the fire and leisurely went to the nearby ice layer to dig a hole. He caught a few fat fish and brought them back to the fire after killing them. He sat down opposite Taoist Qing Feng and handed him a skewered fish. Do you know how to roast fish? No, Taoist Qing Feng said coldly. Your brother really doesn't know how to? Liao Chen asked Feng Wuxiu, who was sitting beside Taoist Qing Feng. Feng Wuxiu nodded. My brother doesn't know anything. He doesn't know how to cook or so. Liao Chen looked at Taoist Qing Feng in disbelief. If you don't know how to cook, how did you survive when you got lost in the forest? Taoist Qing Feng said, Wild fruit. Liao Chen's mouth twitched. Liao Chen's cooking skills were comparable to Gu Jiao's. The fish he roasted were fresh and tender. With a sprinkle of fine salt and spices, it was delicious. Feng Wuxiu ate heartily. Brother Liao Chen, the fish you roasted is so delicious. It's even better than the ones at Heavenly Fragrance Restaurant. When we get back to Shang City, will we still be able to eat your roasted fish? Liao Chen said with a smile, If your brother doesn't kill me, I'm willing to roast a few more fish for you. Feng Wuxiu asked in confusion, But why would my brother kill you? Liao Chen's lips curled. Because, Taoist Qing Feng grabbed a fish and coldly stuffed it into Liao Chen's mouth. Liao Chen took a bite and held the fish in his hand. He smiled and said, Because I'm better than your brother. Your brother is jealous of me. Oh. Feng Wuxiu buried his head in the fish. He was too busy to speak for his brother. Xiao Hang tore off the most tender part of the fish and handed it to Gu Jiao. Liao Chen smiled and picked up another roasted fish from the rack. He gave it to Taoist Qing Feng with a half smile. Sanjing meat. You can eat it. Taoist Ching Feng said indifferently, "You monks eat sanjing meat." Feng Wuxiu puffed out his cheeks. "Brother," he said, "you can eat it." Taoist Ching Feng glared at him coldly. "Whose brother are you?" The next day, the group continued on their journey. It took them 3 days to finally see Dark Night Island above the ice at night on the 3rd day of September. There had been a few moderate snowstorms in the past few days. Overall, the temperature had dropped a lot compared to when they first set off. The ice had thickened, making it easy for them to return to the island. The direwolf pulled the sleigh to the ferry of Dark Night Island. It was too late, and the ferry port was already closed. The iron fence that looked like a city gate blocked their path. The guards patrolling above the island noticed them. The leader asked warily, "Who are you?" Xiao Hang showed the token of Dark Night Island that Chong Jing had left him. He said with a cold gaze, "Marquis Schwamping's residence, Xiao Hang." The leader asked, "Are you the young Marquis of Zhaodu?" Xiao Hang said, "Yes." The leader frowned cautiously. "How do I know if you're an impostor? Wait here. I'll report to the sect master." As soon as he finished speaking, a tall and muscular figure descended from the sky. He flew down the island and onto the sleigh. With a whoosh, he picked up Xiao Hang and Gu Jiao and ran off the island. He only showed the back of his head to the guards. All the guards. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642/8264286/1043699975. HTML Genius memorized the website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 971. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. Gu Jiao and Xiao Heng's cheeks puffed up from the cold wind. Their cheeks changed shape when they turned. But the two had no choice. They could either shut up or open their mouths and become two expressionless sad frogs. Long Yi had wanted to hold Gu Jiao for a long time. Gu Jiao was pregnant, so he couldn't hold her. Gu Jiao was pregnant, so he couldn't hold her. Gu Jiao was in confinement, so he couldn't hold her. Now he could hold her. Xiao Hang was a bonus. Pick one and get one free. The fishermen on the island were processing the fresh fish. Show. An afterimage flashed over their heads. The fishermen looked at each other. After some time. Show. That afterimage flashed over their heads again. Gu Jiao's face darkened and she was about to explode. You've already circled the island twice. After circling the island 3 times, the sky was completely dark. Only then did Long Yi reluctantly put the 2 down. On the other side, Chong Jing had already seen Long Yi flying around the island using his qinggong. Knowing that his people had arrived, he hurriedly went to the ferry to bring the other 3 into the Dark Night sect. Chong Jing knew Liaochen and Taoist Ching Feng. The 3 of them had fought together at the border. Later, Liaochen even stayed in Zhaodu for a period of time and had a lot of dealings with Marquis Schwamping's residence. The only person he didn't know was Feng Wuxiu. "My younger brother," Taoist Ching Feng introduced. As soon as he said that, the 2 saw Feng Wuxiu pulling Liaochen's sleeve and saying, "Brother, I saw pheasants on the island just now. Let's eat pheasants tonight." Chong Jing, Taoist Ching Feng. The Dark Night sect was actually divided into inner and outer sects, but they were all on the island. The process to become a disciple of the Dark Night sect was to first enter the outer sect, then go through painstaking training and layers of screening before being qualified to enter the inner sect. Inner sanctum disciples could enjoy the most powerful martial arts manuals and mental cultivation methods of the Dark Knight sect. They could also get more elixirs and resources. Although Chong Jing was the young sect master, he also cultivated step by step from the outer sect to the inner sect, including his 7 sisters. Gu Jiao and Xiao Hang were family members, not visitors of Jianghu, so Chong Jing and Long Yi took them back to their residence. What was worth mentioning was, Long Yi also had his own residence on this island, and it was even bigger than Chong Jing's residence. Long Yi wanted to show his territory to Little Master and Gu Jiao, but he wanted to see Chong Kuan first. This was a courtesy. In the parlor, the group of 5 met Chong Kuan and the 7 daughters of the Chong family. Liaochen, Xiao Hang, Gu Jiao, and Chong Kuan were old acquaintances, while Taoist Qing Feng and Feng Wuxiu were new faces. Eldest Miss, 7th sister, that Taoist priest is very handsome. 2nd Miss, I think monks are more handsome. 3rd Miss, the little handsome brother beside the Taoist priest is very cute, and he looks very well behaved. 7th sister, how about him? 4th Miss, yes, don't think about that Yi Qing. He has to observe mourning for 3 years, and after 3 years, you'll be almost 30. 7th Miss Chong, you couldn't bear it any longer and gritted her teeth. What? Why do you always say that I'm so old? I'm only 21 this year. 22. Your birthday was yesterday. 6th Miss Chong strictly added. Nominal age is 23. 5th Miss, who had been silent all this time, muttered, Don't you think that the most handsome one is the man beside the little girl? Everyone looked at Xiao Hang, who was holding Gu Jiao's hand and walking into the parlor. They had been rushing for so long, and everyone was described as being in a difficult situation, but it didn't affect their youth and handsomeness. Xiao Hang was different. He had an aura that was different from the others. The 7 sisters couldn't describe it. 2nd Miss said thoughtfully, He doesn't seem to know martial arts, but he seems to emit an invisible deterrence. Chong Yu said, The little girl is beautiful. Chong Jing came between the 2 sides and said, Let me introduce you, this is my father. She was mainly introducing him to the Feng brothers. Taoist Qing Feng cupped his hands. Baiyun Monastery's Qing Feng greets Sect Master Chong. This is my younger brother, Feng Wuxiu. Chong Kuan smiled. Taoist Qing Feng, I've heard a lot about you. Then he looked at Feng Wuxiu, who was of a suitable age and handsome appearance. His eyes lit up. Young hero Feng, I've heard a lot about you. Feng Wuxiu knew his place. He was just a nobody, so Chong Kuan was just being polite. He politely bowed like a junior. Sect Master Chong. Chong Kuan was very satisfied. Chong Jing walked in front of her sisters, and this time she introduced them to the 5 of them. My eldest sister is Chong Ying, 2nd sister is Chong Ling, 3rd sister is Chong Yun, 4th sister is Chong Xiu, 5th sister is Chong Ying, 6th sister is Chong Jun, and 7th sister is Chong Yu. Chong Ying was not much younger than Princess Xinyang, and Chong Ling and Chong Yun were also in their 30s. They looked very young, but they had a righteous and chivalrous aura that did not lose to men. Gu Jiao felt like she had met the 7 fairies in real life. They were all beautiful, had different styles, and were all highly skilled in martial arts. Chong Jing continued the introduction. Zhao Du's young Marquis Xiao Hang and Black Wind Cavalry's commander Gu Jiao are married. Normally, when people introduced women, if they were unmarried, they would be the daughter of some family, and if they were married, they would be the wife of some family. Chong Jing was not like this. He remembered that Princess Xinyang and Aunt Yujin had said that every woman should be herself first, and then someone else's wife. At night, his 6 brothers-in-law also came. Chong Kuan's family had a very good culture. The 7 daughters were forthright and straightforward, and his brothers-in-law were not people who schemed against each other, so there was no burden when they interacted. Dinner was the highest standard of hospitality on Dark Knight Island, an all-fish feast. The main ingredients were fish, shrimp, and crabs caught by the fishermen. The cooking method was not as complicated as the all-fish feast in Gu Jiao's previous life. Instead, it was mainly grilled fish, marinated in sauce, boiled in soup, and fresh fish. It preserved the original taste and freshness of the ingredients to the greatest extent. Feng Wuxiu could not stop eating. He was like a little fat squirrel eating. I've never known that fish can be eaten raw, and it doesn't smell at all. Crab in sauce is even better, Chongjing said. Feng Wuxiu did not dare to try it at first, but the sashimi gave him great confidence. He took a piece of crab meat covered in chili sauce, closed his eyes, and bit into it. The crystal-clear crab meat mixed with the salty and juicy crab roe exploded in his mouth, and all his taste buds were stimulated. The crab meat was washed away with wine and marinated in a secret sauce. The saltiness was just right, spicy and sweet. Delicious. Liao Chen was not used to eating raw food. It was rare for him to have the same taste as Taoist Qing Feng. Gu Jiao tasted a bit of everything. She liked the fish soup the most. It was delicious. Gu Jiao thought that Xiao Hang would not be used to eating raw food since he grew up in Zhao country. Who would have thought that he was even more used to eating raw food? After the meal, Chongjing took Liao Chen, Taoist Qing Feng, and Feng Wuxiu back to the courtyard arranged for them to rest. Gu Jiao and Xiao Hang stayed and told Chong Kun the purpose of their trip. The first island master might be an old friend of mine. I want to see him, Gu Jiao said very tactfully. When the first island master passed away, Gu Jiao was not even born yet. In terms of age, it was impossible for them to meet. However, Chong Kun had witnessed too many unimaginable things from the first island master. He no longer dared to use common sense to infer everything related to him. Chong Kun said, "I'll take the liberty to ask. You and him, did you come from the same place?" He knew that the first island master came from a different world. Since Gu Jiao said that they were old friends, they might also be from a different world. Yes, Gu Jiao admitted frankly. She was so straightforward that Chong Kun was stunned. Chong Kun said with a smile, "To be honest, I'm actually very curious about you and the first island master." Gu Jiao said, "I can tell you what you want to hear. But it's hard to explain in a few words. I might have to stay on the island for a few more days." Chong Kun hurriedly said, "How can it be a bother? You are a friend of the first island master. That means you are an important guest of our Dark Knight sect. The Dark Knight sect will always be open to you. You can stay as long as you want. I can't ask for more." He was speaking from the bottom of his heart. Gu Jiao nodded. "Okay. I'll take you to the first island master first." Chong Kun brought the two of them to the forbidden area of the Dark Knight Society, which was actually located at the back mountain of the Chong family. The first half of the back mountain could be entered at will, but the second half was bounded by the monument carved by the first island master. Only the former island master could enter. Even Chong Jing had never entered it. Long Yi was an exception because he originally lived in the forbidden area. When they passed by that boundary monument, Gu Jiao raised her hand and gently caressed it. She seemed to feel the aura of her godfather. Xiao Hang took her disappointment and frustration into his eyes. Jealousy once again overturned in his heart. "What, it's been so long and you still can't forget? In the end, who is the most important man in your heart?" With a black face, Xiao Hang followed Chong Kun and Gu Jiao into a spacious courtyard. Chong Kun said, "This is the place where the first island master once lived. Long Yi also lives here." Thinking of something, Gu Jiao asked, "What was Long Yi's name when he was young?" Chong Kun looked at Long Yi behind him. Long Yi looked at the sky. Chong Kun cleared his throat and said, "Meng Meng." Gu Jiao. Long Yi and Gu Jiao visited every room in the courtyard. Xiao Heng didn't want to visit. Why did he want to see that man's things? He sat in the courtyard and drank tea with Chong Kun. Gu Jiao first went to the study of her godfather. She found a lot of handwriting left behind by her godfather. Most of them were his experiences in this spacetime. There were also some mathematical formulas to deduce the coordinates she had left behind at that time. Gu Jiao looked at the familiar handwriting and an indescribable melancholy welled up in her heart. How did Godfather know I had come here and left behind the coordinates? What exactly is missing in my memory? This study shouldn't be the real study of her godfather. He would never completely expose his secrets to others. Long Yi, is there any other place? Long Yi thought for a bit and brought Gu Jiao to a secret room. He pointed at a groove on the wall and said, "You can't enter." This groove was the same as the groove in the operating room of the State Preceptor Hall. Could it be that this was the space coordinate left behind by her godfather? Gu Jiao silently called for the small medicine box in her heart. The small medicine box didn't appear. Gu Jiao walked out of the back mountain and returned to her and Xiao Heng's room. With a dark face, she took the small medicine box from the table. She muttered, "Why do I have to be carried?" Digression: the length of Dark Knight Island is not long, almost finished. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/1043658554. HTML Genius will remember this site's address: www.zhbqg.com. Bikuj mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 972. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. After putting the small medicine box into the groove, the originally empty secret room really had a different scene. What came into view was a dark and long passage. Long Yi's eyes instantly lit up when he saw the passage. It was as if a child who had been away for many days finally saw a harbor to return home. He impatiently ran into the passage. Gu Jiao followed behind him. In fact, Gu Jiao had always been very curious. Where did this kind of space come from? What kind of method was used to keep it in this spacetime? It was impossible to say that it was created by one's own hands. The developed energy and basic facilities of the ancient times were not enough to create this kind of base with one's own strength. Gu Jiao also considered whether it came from the research institute of her previous incarnation. However, this guess was quickly rejected by her. The equipment of the operating room was much more advanced than the research institute. Long Yi pushed open the door at the end of the passage. A strong light shone. Gu Jiao instinctively raised her hand to block the light. Long Yi entered the room without any hesitation. After adapting to the light, Gu Jiao also walked over. What surprised Gu Jiao was that this was not an operating room. Instead, it was more like a well-equipped laboratory. In the middle, there was a rectangular experiment table made of special metal. There was nothing on the table. It seemed like her godfather had tidied it up before his death. Other than the wall with the door, the other 3 walls had about 3 meters high shelves. On the shelves, there was a display of transparent glassware. In the glassware, there was some soil with different colors and composition. Some soil had successfully cultivated plants. Some soil had corroded and no plants could survive. The second situation accounted for the majority. And these were all for the cultivation of purple grass. Looking at these failed experiments, Gu Jiao could almost imagine how her godfather tried to cultivate purple grass again and again. He failed again and again until he finally collapsed and fell into despair. There were no other discoveries in the laboratory. It was as if the endless hardships had been deliberately erased by the godfather. Long Yi arrived behind the shelf on the right side of the entrance, then pressed a switch on the wall. Along with a click sound, it seemed some kind of lock was opened. After that, Long Yi pushed forward. It turned out that there was an invisible door on the wall. Seeing Long Yi had entered that door, Gu Jiao also followed him in without thinking. The scene in front of her completely stunned her. It was neither an operating theater nor a laboratory. Instead, it was a small indoor playground. Long E opened his arms and threw himself into a pool of blue and white ocean balls. He was too big to be submerged by the ocean ball, so he stuck his head in. In addition to the ball pool, there were also trampolines, iron chain bridges, rock climbing, rainbow stairs, and other recreational facilities for children. However, upon closer inspection, these amusement facilities were different from the ones in the shopping malls in his previous life. They were more difficult, the slopes were shakier, and there were all kinds of data monitoring. So, in the end, is this a place for Long E to play or a place for training? Gu Jiao muttered. Long E again went to ride his young wooden horse. Unfortunately, he was already very big. When he sat on it, his arms and legs shrunk, making him very sullen. Even so, he still started to sway. Gu Jiao felt that this place was not as simple as an indoor playground. While she was looking all around, suddenly a mechanical sound came from the top of her head. Shortly afterwards, a slender green light scanned over. First it fell on Long Yi's body, then it scanned from head to toe. Soon afterwards, the rotating detector opened its mouth. Meng Meng, welcome home. It was really called Meng Meng Ah. Say, when Long Yi left, he was only 5 years old. After so many years had passed, how did it determine Long Yi's parameters? While she was thinking, the detector's green light scanned the body of Gu Jiao. The light at the source of the detector flickered twice, and the mechanical sound once again resounded. This time, its tone was clearly somewhat cold. Unknown intruder detected. Do you want to eliminate? A whole row of gun muzzles emerged from the wall and uniformly aimed at Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao's eyebrows jumped. In the next second, Long Yi stood up and wanted to grab Gu Jiao. However, before he could do anything, the detector opened its mouth. System pause. System error. System restart. System overload. Gu Jiao completely didn't understand what was happening. After another series of mechanical sound, the detector drooped down and crashed. The crisis was solved just like that. After 3 seconds, it restarted again. First, it took back the gun, then it scanned Long E again. This time, its tone was a lot more relaxed. Meng Meng, today is a beautiful day, welcome home. After that, there was no more, and it didn't scan Gu Jiao again. Is Godfather here? Gu Jiao asked. It didn't answer. Is King here? Gu Jiao called Godfather by his code name in the organization. It still didn't answer. Long E talked to it. Gu Jiao turned to Long E and said. Long E looked up at it and thought for a moment. Then, he seriously educated it. You have to talk. Sure enough, it responded. Its tone was light and there was a hint of a smile in it. Meng Meng, do you want to talk? Jiao Jiao has something to ask you, Long E said. The detector began to scan Gu Jiao. Unknown intruder detected. Do you want to eliminate? System pause. System error. System restart. System overload. Once again, the detector crashed. Gu Jiao sighed. Looks like it won't work. She wanted to pull out some information related to Godfather from its database. She didn't know if there was a problem with the system or if Godfather had written an escape program, but this person really left without leaving a single word for her. However, this trip wasn't without discovery. Long E took Gu Jiao to see his bedroom. The place where he slept as a child was actually a hibernation chamber. At the bottom of the hibernation chamber was a record of the life form's characteristics. K93 Galaxy, Intelligent Life Form, Grade, S. This was Long E? Long E wasn't from this space-time. What was grade? Combat power. No wonder Long E was so strong. But how did Godfather meet such a strong Long E? She felt that it had something to do with the small medicine box. Long E lay down in his hibernation chamber and placed his hands on his stomach. His posture was exactly the same as when he was a child. Gu Jiao asked him, Long E, do you remember when you first met your father? Long E shook his head. Thinking of something, Long Yi sat up and went to his desk. Opening the drawer, he took out a photo of Gu Jiao from her previous life. In the photo, she was carrying out an undercover mission. She had an indifferent expression and wore a small red dress with a crescent moon jade pendant. It was the pendant she had given to Shenyuan Qi. After Long Yi's memory was erased by the people of Sword Hut, he still remembered this jade pendant. When he was assassinating Shenyuan Qi, he saw the jade pendant on Shenyuan Qi's neck, so he gave up his mission. Gu Jiao pointed at the photo and asked, "Did your father tell you who she is?" Long Yi nodded and said solemnly, "She is the most important person in his life. She is the person I must protect when I meet her." Xiao Hang was drinking tea with Chong Kuan in the courtyard. From time to time, he would look in the direction of the house. Chong Kuan said with a smile, "If little Marquis is curious, you can go in and take a look." Xiao Hang coldly snorted and said, "What am I curious about? I am curious about a man who did not hesitate to create Dark Night Island for my wife, planted the purple grass, treated her better than me, and made her think about him endlessly all day long. I am not curious." Chong Kuan. "Then, don't shake your leg before you speak?" Gu Jiao and Long Yi came out after a full hour. Xiao Heng's eyes had already flown to Gu Jiao, but he pretended to be calm and asked, "Finished looking?" Gu Jiao nodded and her mood was somewhat low. When Xiao Hang saw her dejected look because of another man, he was so mad that he wanted to stomp his feet. He asked with a calm face, "Did you find anything?" Gu Jiao shook her head. "No, he wiped everything too cleanly, as if he was afraid that I would find something here." Xiao Heng raised his hand and gently touched her head. "He didn't want you to be sad." Xiao Heng felt that if he were in Xiao Heng's position, he would definitely do the same. Everything he did was not to make her feel grateful. On the contrary, he hoped that she could live without any worries and burdens. Therefore, she didn't need to know that he had been in hell. She just needed to move forward and see the light. Digression: Dark Night Island was almost explained, and the progress bar was more than half. Happy. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642-826/104350197. HTML Genius. Remember the address of this website: www.zhbqg.com. Bikugu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.